Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TRS Live with your hosts Brian Keller, Matt Trotz, and Zach Hoffman, presented by The Real Shot.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Triune.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever.
Let's go.
All you haters better get comfy. This the day you've been waiting on. Your road is finna get bumpy. This the track I'm making my statement on. I ain't going nowhere. This the place that I'm making home. I'll do this shit forever. Hit the gas and I'm taking off. Ow. I was born with passion. My job is never ending and my hustle's everlasting. No matter what, I'm gon' ball, even with my back to the wall. And the best part is that this is the beginning. I'ma do this here forever. Forever.
All right. We're here.
We are here again.
Are we really, though? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
I could see it on Facebook.
Well, we're here then.
You just gotta be careful. Just make sure we're good to go.
We're
Yeah,
good to
no,
go.
we are always
Megan's
good to
on
go.
here. Good morning, Megan. Second time I said good morning to Megan today.
Which Megan?
Radke.
Oh,
It says right on there, she joined.
Well, I don't have it open here.
Well, that's your own fault.
Well, happy Friday, everybody.
You guys all survived
Friday.
Valentine's Day?
It's cold.
We
Yay.
survived.
The sun
You
is
still
shining.
married? Zach, you still married?
Yeah.
Matt?
Still
You
married.
still married? Justin, you still married?
Still married.
Woo!
Brian,
We
Still
made
married.
you're still. Well, your
We made
wife.
it. My
is
wife
here.
actually showed up today, so it must be good.
Yeah. You're trying to make her mad this morning. I don't know how well it's working. I mean, you're pretty good
Gotta
at it.
survive the 14th,
Gotta,
right?
yeah,
Gotta
we
You really
survive
do.
it.
The best is on social media. They always have that post. It's like, careful, 9 months from now, you could be missing the rut.
Be safe, everyone.
I'm on top of that one all the time.
Yeah, don't miss any opportunities.
Don't miss any opportunities.
Be safe. Be safe. Right, man? You gotta be safe.
You gotta be safe. You gotta be
See,
safe.
so here, I'm
Drink,
gonna-
drink, be
This
safe,
is what we I made these for you. Got be safe stickers.
Oh,
Matt,
Oh,
you gotta be
man.
safe.
Yes!
Just look at the live stream, too. Don't worry.
yes.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Be safe, decals.
Can I put one right in the back here? Or that?
Oh, you gotta.
Can I? Right here?
You gotta now.
Let's see how that looks. Oh,
Made those this
nice. That is classic.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
you can have one because I know you.
Do we
like
have
to
to?
be safe.
Do we have to take a drink if this? Is that the deal?
Every time
Well-
he says be safe, we take a drink.
Yes.
Anytime I reference car sales, you got to drink.
Oh,
And
man.
Ah, drink. You just
Car sales.
oh, God.
Yep. I'm hydrating and recovering.
I'm drinking coffee.
That's true.
I'm drinking coffee as well.
That's true.
Oh,
well,
boy.
that's perfect. So we got a entertaining and fun show going on
Yeah,
today.
I'm excited.
I think
this-
this one's going to be a good one for us. I mean,
This
this
could be
is
a good one. So
This is
let's
passion right here.
let's
It's a little opinion piece mixed
Yeah.
with some facts and
Yep.
and some
Facts.
information.
Facts.
Do people believe facts
Is it-
anymore?
Is it
Facts are
opinion
real
and a
thing?
fact in the same sentence?
Well,
Does that
the-
work out very well?
I don't believe in
not
facts.
Not
I only
my,
believe
not
in
my
emotions.
feelings.
I believe in emotions, Justin. I'm
Emotions
kidding.
are not facts.
You just triggered me by saying that. I am triggered now.
I know.
I'm
I
triggered.
know. And for this, I apologize.
Going to my safe
No,
space. Right over there. Going there.
That reminds
Right
me of
now.
the conversation that we had the other day with Mike standing out there. He was, yeah, that was fun.
Go to.
I don't even know.
Go
I
to
don't remember
Madison.
what you're talking about.
We're talking
I
about
actually
my-
have to go to Madison
It's a
tonight, so
sanctuary.
maybe
It's a
You'll
sanctuary.
I'll
feel
fit right in.
You'll feel at home.
like what's your business in Madison? Well, I got offended at work today,
Oh,
so I'm looking for
triggered.
houses.
he's gonna, right in the Capitol steps. He's gonna be out there.
right there.
They told me
Offended at
emotions
work.
don't matter.
Oh yeah, my feelings aren't facts. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man, we could go down that road.
No,
for an hour.
we're not going to
no,
go down
no.
that
Probably
road.
not.
We're not going on that
But
road.
for real, we have a lot to
Similar
talk
road.
about.
We
Similar.
do have a lot to talk about today. It's
Lot
going
to
to be
talk
fun.
about.
So,
Yeah.
what we want to encourage people today, because we are going to have a lot of opinions
Yep.
flying around with the four of us. Comment.
Yeah, for sure.
Comment.
Fuel
Good or
our
bad.
fire.
Fuel the fire.
Feel
Do we
it.
want to try to live Skype anybody if they want to do that?
With the
Can we
way that I have
try
the hard setup right now,
You want to pass?
I'd have to go through a lot of hoops.
We're
Okay,
going to
let's
get there.
just pass.
We're
We'll
going to get
pass.
there.
We'll
But
pass.
yeah,
We'll pass on
comments.
that.
Let's
Comment
have a
section below.
Comment section.
Light us up.
We will get to that though. We will get to the
Oh,
point where
yeah.
we can live Skype people
Next
in
week.
on the fly.
Starting next week, we'll
That'll
be able to do
awesome.
Yeah.
Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, everybody. So cool. Let's wrap.
What?
Let's get into it. So today's main topic. I mean, we're gonna introduce
We got.
it.
Well, we're going to talk
We're
about
gonna
opinions.
yeah, we're gonna talk about opinions, mostly fishing.
Yep. A lot of fishing
A
stuff.
lot of fishing stuff today. We're gonna cover some main topics. So it's gonna be really fun. First couple things though, let's get it out of the way. Is today this is the
Friday.
Oh, Free Hat Friday. Let me
Free
get
Hat
that in there. There
Friday.
we go. Free Hat Friday. Bowtech hat.
Bowtech. So this post will come out at noon. It's the same kind of deal. 1 through 500. Pick a number. Winner's gonna get this.
I talked to a buddy of mine this morning. He's like, I don't even want to win the hat, but I still pick a number every time.
Well, right.
He's
Yeah,
like,
that's a nice hat.
This
Oh, yeah.
is a really nice.
he's like, I
hat.
pick the same number every time.
Someday he's going to be right, though.
Well,
And you'll win the lottery.
the
with
best
that
is
number.
the best. I love it. Like the best of them are like somebody like will put a number and then 2 seconds later somebody will guess the same exact number. I do want to encourage people though. Do not message them to the Facebook.
Got to be on the post.
It's got
Gotta
to
be
be
on the
on
post.
the post. And I think it happens accidentally. But
I do too.
I don't put your numbers into the comment
mix.
section of the post. So
No.
Right.
if you don't put it in the post, your number was not
How's
seen.
that working out
I'm trying to
for
be
you?
less short.
And then I think
You're
what
too
we're gonna
short.
I'm trying to get my chair up so I can.
Then I think what we're gonna do from now on is we're gonna if you don't pick your hat up in 7 days, we're just gonna recycle it.
Yeah,
it's
for
gonna
sure.
go right back into
Yep.
the.
So
So then
snooze, you lose.
snooze, you lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting yelled at up front. There's a pile of Facebook
Yep,
giveaways
that's
up
not
front,
good.
and the guys are getting
Nope.
upset. They're taking up
We
spaces.
had Mark on the show last time, and he doesn't want to. He gets crabby.
He's no nonsense. He's
Yep.
off today, so hey,
No
Mark.
nonsense kind of guy.
Couple other things too. So keep us on track. Have to say hello to Jack if he's on so far.
Yep,
Jack,
Kelly's.
Kelly's son Jack. He's off of school today and tuning in to TRS Live. So
Awesome.
hello. And then I also want to give a personal shout out to Travis Eckstein. I believe you're gonna say it. I told him I would shout out. He did a really good referral. He gave a really good referral to us. It's on our social media page. Somebody had a bad experience at a big box store. Travis gave us a shout out, said we are reputable. He says he always has great customer service.
Yeah,
when
that's
he comes
awesome.
here.
Much appreciated.
I told him next time he's blowing through the area, hit me up and we'll try to get him a hat or something cool.
Yeah,
like
for
that.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So, and then last but not least,
New product?
new product.
New
We're gonna-
product.
we're going to try to highlight a product every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And today we're talking about why I'm so jacked up. Wilderness athlete. Dun, 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 dun. We are now carrying supplements. Why? Because we can.
Because Matt needs
Well,
supplements.
You know, that's true.
So Matt woke up one day and said, "Why am I paying this much for supplements when I could pay this much?"
much.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
Brian, can we
Yes.
carry
Yeah,
supplements?
Exactly.
Well, you know, so obviously it's dead of winter here. A lot of us have put some extra weight on, or maybe just me.
No,
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I saw that you put that picture up yesterday at your wedding day or whatever. I'm like, whoa, Zach, here we go.
All right. You should see the one.
good.
There's
You
one
should
where
see
I'm.
mine.
There's one where I'm kissing. I think it was a sheep head, but I was throwing it back at the fox, which
Okay.
is disgusting in its own right. But like, I look like a totally different person. I'm literally like a twig, and I'm like, what happened? Where did that go? Taco Bell, why'd you do this
well,
to me?
guess what?
Because it's awesome.
Right?
Blame it on Taco Bell. So, anyways, we are now carrying Wilderness Athlete. They have a bunch of different products here. I just have a couple. Like they have a good selection of meal replacement, chocolate and vanilla. This is my favorite one so far, Energy and Focus. I've been taking 2 scoops of this one and mixing it with this green infusion.
Do you feel like you're like coming off your
Dude,
You
yesterday
feel
I
good?
was super jacked.
Yeah?
Super jacked.
like more than normal?
Yeah.
You are the
Is
most
that-
jacked.
Is that possible?
Is super jacked?
So now you're a big 5-hour energy
Yeah,
monster guy.
unfortunately,
No,
yes.
but are you trying to use this instead of that?
Yes.
Are you kind of feeling the same? Because I like 5-hour energy when I'm on road trips,
Yes.
driving, whatever.
So-
I don't, might be pseudo in my head. I don't know, but it works. Keeps me awake.
My wife is a huge person to let me know that I shouldn't be drinking Monsters or 5-hour energies and all that kind
You
of stuff.
shouldn't be. She's right.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's a lot of things people shouldn't do,
Correct.
but we do them anyways. So, yeah, I like to try to get on this kind of stuff. Plus, like, start implementing them like a meal replacement just to help substitute. You know, it's hard. So, anyways, this stuff will be hitting the website as soon as we're able to get it up. It's in store. It's available right
it's
now.
out front already?
It's
Yep.
up front
Oh,
right
awesome.
now. Yep,
Okay.
we're working on getting
It's actually
some
right. It's right as you walk in the front
the
door,
glass
right in the
case.
glass case.
Yep.
So you can see everything they offer.
And we didn't go huge assortment to begin with, but we have some of their pre-workout, post-workouts, like we said, meal replacements.
Those you're not using those, right?
Yeah, well, there's the term there, the workout portion. I haven't quite got to that.
So
Right,
if you drink it, it counts as a workout.
It should.
If you
Right.
shake
should.
it real
Wouldn't that be
vigorously, yeah, it does
fantastic?
count.
Should.
That would be fantastic.
So yeah, we're just if anybody's looking for some supplement stuff. I mean, this is a category. We already had some food processing stuff.
You've wanted
in
to
here.
do this for a long time.
Well, and the other thing too is the new hire Megan Radke brought it up to me. me. She said, can we get into something like this? Because she's also going to be participating in the train to hunt.
Okay, yep.
Which
looks crazy.
It looks really cool.
Looks nuts.
And so we're looking at possibly, I think they're done with their indoor ones for this year, but maybe next year getting on the indoor one. If anybody hasn't looked at that, you need to look at that train to hunt stuff. But anyways, Wilderness Athlete is really closely affiliated with that.
Oh, cool.
So it just is a real good partnership that could.
And that kind of fits right in with what we do, hunt fish, right? Meal replacement, long day in the woods.
Yep.
We've talked about
have
that
a healthy
lot.
alternative.
How we don't eat in the summer. Yep. Fish.
Yep. And another thing too, when you're on the boat sweating all day long, you know, water is generally not enough.
They got
it's
going
to keep you alive.
Too.
Well,
yep,
and that's what I was
what's in
going to
here.
say. So we have
Hydrate
the tubs,
recover.
and you guys went with some of the packs, the travel packs. It's basically like Justin said, you mix it with a bottle of water, you mix it in.
Well, that's why I bought the packs. I take it in the boat with me in the summer.
Yep.
Replaces all the stuff you sweat out that you just don't get with just water.
So it has some good purpose, and like you said, we're going to be on the boat quite a bit this summer. We're going to be at shows and all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be.
I should probably hop on that bandwagon too.
Yeah, you should.
I think I should.
And I just look at it like, if it's an excuse for me to like stop eating one crappy meal a day, well, it's going to be amazing what how you're going to feel. And so, anyways, Wilderness Athletes here at the Real Shot. So, if anybody else has anything else, let's just get right to it.
So, no, you go ahead first, because
you're more important than I am, Zach.
No, not at all.
Yes, you are. You get this wording every day.
Nope. No, you go first, because I'm going to show a video.
We had to give a shout out. What
video
are you going to show?
I was going to show I wanted to go break right in and
the MLF one.
The MLF.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to say so. First,
yeah.
Be safe.
I put mine.
Be safe.
Put it on the back of your truck, please.
That's what you should have had on your. You should have taken that home last night. Be safe.
Well, I didn't see it last night. You didn't give it to me today.
No, it's like you were saying the whole 9-month thing, right? 9
Yeah,
months from now,
yeah.
you could be in the woods, buddy.
I do
keep it smart.
For you guys don't see it, it's like that. Who's that? Adam Levine at the mine doesn't say California right here. It says be safe. It says be safe across my belly. I have that
Are you
going to
do the next podcast with your shirt off?
No,
please don't do that.
Absolutely
let's do it after about 6 months of Wilderness Athlete.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, then we'll be ready to roll.
So one of the things opinion-wise that I think is kind of hot right now. We talk a lot about the MLF and the Bass Elite Series and all those kinds of things, and we had a guy in here on the show that was kind of ragging on the MLF, called it the Minnow Fishing League or whatever.
A lot of people online.
A lot of people
not
are
happy.
bagging on it. I personally think if you don't like what the MLF's doing, you're kind of missing the big picture of sports, and you're missing the big picture of what the MLF can do for the industry as a whole, right? For businesses like ours, but also to introduce people to the sport, those types of things. I think you're really missing out. Well, I don't know if this was from yesterday's, the video Zach's going to run. I don't know if it's from yesterday or Group A or Group B. I don't know which day.
It was day 2.
Was it day 2?
I think it was day 2. Yep.
But you want to talk about what the MLF is trying to push. Watch this.
This is intense. And everyone can hear us now. I have it set up so we can hear it and they can. But this is just
nice
absolutely
work.
intense.
That's awesome.
Well, you got to listen closely.
Listen to this.
Ten, 9.
Oh my God.
I got it.
Oh. That is the biggest minnow I've ever seen. What?
9 pounds 6 ounces that thing was?
What?
And the less than a second.
I love it right here. He's trying to grab that. Look at his wrist. His forearm is gone.
But
that's how I pulled my.
That bait. He said that's some kind of cricket. They're launching it at the Classic. He said it's not even out yet.
All right, we'll have to keep
we're
an
gonna
eye
buy
out
it.
for that one for sure. Yeah.
So we'll
That's
be at the
insane.
Classic.
Watch, but
you think his heart rate's up a little?
I don't know if you can hear the countdown that well.
Yeah,
but can you imagine trying to boat flip a 9-pounder?
Well, that's what he said. So I watched.
Here, maybe just listen to the rest.
9 pounds, 6 ounces.
6 ounces.
That's a monster. I need to know.
That's the thunder cricket, baby. Oh,
Thunder cricket.
Yeah, write that one down.
I had him. I knew he was big. I tried to boat flip him. I knew I was close. A 9 pound. 1 second to go.
I'm sorry. I don't care what you want to think about the MLF or the format or whatever.
Right.
Oh,
that doesn't happen in other tournaments because you don't have a count. I mean, there is a countdown towards the end of the day before you got to leave, but that time you have to leave if you're not familiar with other tournaments. it all counts the run back to the boat launch.
Yep.
So the time you've got to leave is different from the time I've got to leave based on how far away I am. You don't ever get that.
No,
and
I
much
like
less
that,
usually
that
see it.
instantaneous, just everyone's got a live feed. You can see everything. I mean, yes, there's a lot of guys just going out there to hammer as many fish as they want to, but that is all. That, I think, in my opinion, comes down to technique and how you want to fish to win. And if you can nail that proper technique, then you can win an MLF.
So Brandon asked, do you feel the MLF has taken the strategy out of bass fishing tournaments? Seems to be it's more about numbers than size. My feeling on that is that I don't think it's taken the strategy out at all. I think what it does is it makes you catch fish all day.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Now, if you're on the biggest school of 1-pounders, you can make the argument, but we could have a whole entire show on what's more important, numbers or size, right? Like we could have an entire show just on that alone. But I think the simple fact that you have to catch fish all day long, right?
Yep.
I mean, we talked about this before. I've been in walleye tournaments where I was pounding 4-pounders. Like I caught 70 fish that day, right? One guy went off and caught 5 lucky bites somewhere. He wins the thing. Is he better than me? I don't think so. Not in my opinion. I don't think that is.
Right.
No.
And not to say that everybody that wins the tournament gets lucky, but if you're in that tournament world, there's certain guys that fish to have fun, and then all of a sudden they randomly win one, and they've never caught 5-7 pounders in their life.
Right.
It's never happened. So that's where I think that the MLF is. I mean, like if a guy can get on a school of big fish, he's going to catch those big fish. He's not purposely trying to catch 1-pounders.
Right.
There is a lot. I think in reality they both have their own sets of advanced strategies that you need to win. Because if you look at the top 10 guys in the MLF rounds, not every guy in the top 10 has 30, 40 fish under his belt.
Right.
There's some that have half of.
Yeah.
The lead guy could have half of what the second place has.
The kicker is, and I think if anybody that's listening is fish tournaments. Right, you'll go through lulls. You'll be on them, you'll catch them, and it's like that for anybody. But tournament fishing kind of magnifies that,
right? Because
you've only got a certain amount of time. You're trying to get the most amount of weight possible, but you'll go through the whole thing, and you'll catch them, you'll be on them, whatever. All of a sudden now, if I'm not catching them, somebody else is. I'm losing out. Where if I caught 5, I mean, I had tournaments where Larry's on here. Him and I had tournaments where we hit a hump, and I've told you these stories. We made one pass and we were done for the day. Right. I mean, him and I had a tournament where we pulled 29 pounds with 3 fish by 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just drove around the lake for the next 4 hours.
Isn't it really common, though, for tournament anglers to go to their spots, try to fill their box up, have their limit, and then go back?
It all depends
it
just depends on if you can call or not, right? Like certain tournaments, if you can call, if you're fishing like in the AIM format where it's catch, record, release, or the Bago Walleye Series catch, record, release, you can, keep catching them all day long type of deal. You know, if you're fishing like Mercury or Otter Street, those types of tournaments, it's a 6 fish max. So once you catch your 6th one, you put that in the tank, you're done.
Okay.
You know, and those types of things. But I don't think it eliminates anything. I mean,
no.
It's just in my opinion.
I like it because, as a millennial, and all of the flashiness
Good morning, Ryan.
of the MLF versus Bassmaster, I've watched now both of them almost side by side. And I think what MLF is going for is it's to be more commercialized. It's to be that next big sport, like an actual big sport, which I'm not saying Bassmaster's not, because it definitely is. It fits that niche. But these guys are trying to commercialize bass fishing to everybody and not just people who like bass fishing. And watching a dude not catch fish for an hour and a half versus a guy who's just hammering on them left and right is a lot more adrenaline pumping and fun to watch. No commentary, no fish is being caught.
My opinion, I think there's a place for all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think there's one's bad or negative or whatever. They're just different formats. I think that what the MLF's trying to do, I think they're going to be very successful at it. Right? I think that, you can see right in that video, right? That's, where are you going to get that? You don't get that with these other tournament formats.
And the other thing that I like about it is the based around conservation, that these fish are going right back where they came from. So they're not being like, who said that?
Larry
said that. Throwing these big giant fish, that's almost redundant that, people about a later topic, somebody says, well, don't kill a muskie because you want to put it right back where it came from. So then why is it any difference that you want to grab a bass from 10 miles that way, bring it here, dump it in a river, and let it die? So I like the conservation aspect
the age-old who wants to go to a weigh-in and you want to see fish.
Right.
Like the average guy, like you go to a weigh-in and you've never seen a 7 or 8 pound largemouth. I want to see one. Okay, cool. is that really worth the trade-off for the conservation side of what tournaments can do? One of the big knocks on tournament fishing is, you're taking fish from the upper lakes and you take them to Fond du Lac or, wherever you're going.
Right.
You're pulling fish, my home fish, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, they're fish.
we can have a whole
Shouldn't be moving them.
Right.
we can have a whole
Shouldn't be
conversation
moving
about that. Nick wants to know how Bassmaster Brian. I would not classify myself as a Bassmaster. I'm not even close. Keeps his plastic baits, original packaging or boxes. It depends. If most plastics, if they come in a bag, I put them in a Plano type storage box.
So you take them out of the bag?
I take them out of the bag and put them in there individually. It's just easier to keep track of what it is.
Right.
Things like the Dark Sleeper that have you're paying a lot for each individual bait that comes in kind of a pre-molded plastic. I'll try to keep those in there just to keep the tail straight. Because if you were to take a box and leave it out, if it's a hot bite or something, you leave it on the deck and those boxes get real hot.
Yeah.
I melted a whole box of Bandits one time. Melted them all. Because I was in South Dakota for a tournament and it was like 95. Sun just magnifies through it. Literally just melted all the bills and stuff. So it just kind of depends on what it is.
What do you do, Justin?
I've messed with that for years. Right now, I'm taking them out of the bags and putting them in boxes.
Yep.
I've toyed with, the speed bags where you keep all your stuff in.
Yep. Like the Shimano one or something like that?
Shimano, yeah, Plano makes one.
Yep.
We have a KVD speed bag. We got a KVD signature and a Plano speed bag. So, yeah, we have a lot of tackle storage
No, like,
options.
for instance, the Strike, oh, geez, Louise.
Z-Man?
No, not the Z-Man. The Strike King.
Yeah.
The Strike King KVD drop shot baits come in like a pre-molded little piece, right?
Yes.
So those, I actually keep those in the bag, in a bag designed for bags.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sounds
Well,
like
it's designed to keep the plastic in its intended shape
Yep.
instead of letting it just.
Well, and nowadays the plastics are getting so much softer
Yep.
that they're more susceptible to bending out of shape. And then as soon as they lose that shape, then they start doing weird things.
Well, that would be my question is when you take them out of that, don't they lose their attractiveness by their scent, their smell, all
most
that
of
kind of
that's
stuff?
so, in my opinion, most of that's so impregnated into
That you don't
those
have to worry about
baits.
it.
Yep.
Right.
You can't get rid of that smell. I mean, you'll be smelling it for days in your hands. If
That's
you
a real
want,
good
so.
question, though.
No, that's a great question. Thank you.
Yep. And then it might depend on the bait style too. Reaction
Well-
strike versus something where they actually have
Yep.
to.
Well, you mentioned a
Think
Z-Man.
about
I
side
don't
heat.
know if you could ever rip those things in half. Those-
Well, you got
yeah,
You can.
It'll stretch 5 feet. Like the little TRD will stretch, this long.
Yeah, and that's the type of plastic you
hypothetically.
can't mix with other plastic baits because they'll melt.
Right.
So you have to keep that in its bag.
Yep.
We
Yep.
carry the Z-Man's got a pouch designed to hold. We carry it in 2 sizes to hold all their different Elastec type products. So those are pretty cool.
So
too.
if you were going to buy that product, where would you find that, Justin? Through the Real Shot? Would it be on our website?
where would we find it through the Real Shot?
Yeah.
Through the Real Shot. Yeah, that's where
I'm
you
trying
find
to
it.
say, what is it? www.therealshot.com.
www.
He's always got such an elegant way of phrasing things.
I know.
It's
I know.
awesome.
It's
I love
smooth.
it.
All
Which,
right.
by the way, if you go to therealshot.com, 15% off
Right.
using promo code TRS.
Hey!
Boom, done, full circle.
Oh, there we go. Great job.
Very good. Way to shop the Real Shot today. So let's get right into it. Let's talk fishing.
What's first?
Were we already talking fishing?
We already are.
No, I
talking
think we were
fishing.
talking bow
We're
hunting.
talking opinions.
If anybody's got any other questions on the MLF thing, I'm all fired up
He's
about
jacked
that
up.
thing.
He's had a couple wilderness
I've
athletes.
been
already this
around.
morning. He's
I've
jacked
been around competitive fishing
your whole life.
my whole life. It's all I've ever wanted to do. My mom's got my reports from 4th grade about how I was going to be a tournament fisherman. Like, that's all I've ever wanted to do, right?
Yep.
I grew up and realized it's really hard to make money being a tournament fisherman, and that's why partly where the store came from. But to see what tournament fishing could become from what it currently is,
Right.
an actual media-driven spectator sport, is really awesome.
Yep.
For
I
a
like
kid-
I like the media-driven side because that provides job security for some people.
but from a-
True story.
from
But that's
a
where we're at now. I mean,
from a kid who grew up loving tournament fishing, follow the Rick Cluns and these guys through magazines. That's all I had, right?
Yep.
It was magazines
Yep.
and Saturday morning shows. There was no
Yep.
internet or whatever. That's how old we are now, Justin, right? Justin and I, we're old.
And it was
But-
on TNN. Do you remember?
Yeah.
All the outdoor shows were on TNN.
I mean, just to watch that to where now I can watch it like a football game.
Yep.
So
It's
hold
so
up.
cool. It's so cool to me.
What is TNN?
it's an old TV station.
No, it's still a
Is
station.
it still a
around.
station?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's still a station, but instead of like, it used to be like a country music station.
Oh, really?
They
Was
used to
that was
have-
like the other version of CMT?
Was it? Yeah, it was before CMT, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was
TNN,
it? I don't
That,
remember
was
that.
that CNN? Are they still around?
Yeah,
Yeah,
CNN's
yeah.
trying.
TNN.
They're trying to stay around.
Oh, that some people
Yep.
are still
I'll
watching
never forget it because TNN had all the fishing and hunting shows on like Saturday mornings. Because like Real Tree Outdoors was on there, and I think like Hank Parker Outdoors, I don't
Was
know.
Babe Winkleman? It was one of.
No, because he was.
I got his autograph when I was like 4.
It was weird though, because like it was.
Winkleman?
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a story about Winkleman. You want to hear it?
Sure. Why
So
not?
my dad, I grew up fishing. My dad was a
Wait a
fisherman.
minute, your whole life?
You
My whole
fish?
That's all I've ever done.
Hold up, you're a fisherman?
I do. I fish a little bit.
That's weird.
James says it was the Nashville Network.
Oh, there you go.
So there you
TNN.
go.
See?
Us old guys.
No,
stick
that would
together.
make sense. I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, but go ahead.
Anyway, so Babe Winkleman. So my dad grew up and he was always telling me these stories about how he used to get followed around by Winkleman and Lindner and these guys. So back in the day, I supposedly, we'll have to get him on here and have him verify one of these stories, but supposedly he was
Who's
kind of
that? Babe Winkleman?
No,
or
my
your
dad.
I was gonna say.
supposedly he was kind of a big. Well, you've heard these stories.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Supposedly he was a big wig back in the day, and these guys used to follow him around. Supposedly. Anyway, so
Your dad.
well,
kid.
that's
You're
what
talking your dad.
my dad. That's what I
Okay.
thought. I always grew up thinking, yeah, okay, Dad, whatever. You know,
Yep,
you're telling
yep,
me a bunch
yep.
of stories. He used to talk about magazine covers, whatever, but he never had any proof of this stuff. So we go to Berkshire one day, and Babe Winkleman's there signing autographs, and my dad's like, "Watch this." And I'm like, we're like 20 people back, and he kind of gives Winkleman the wave, and Winkleman stands up and goes like this, waves us up to the front. And he goes, "Mr. Keller, it's great to see you again. I haven't seen you in a few years." I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Like, and then they started talking stories or stuff. It was totally true.
Little-
Yeah,
little
I've seen
does he
some
know.
pictures of your dad's catches. He slammed some pretty big
It was
fish back in the
it
day.
freaked me out completely because I grew up like as you know my dad never talked about this stuff until
Right.
I got a little bit older into tournament fishing or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm like, Babe Winkleman knows my dad. Like, well, what?
That is pretty cool.
Like I guess my dad shut a few lakes down up north to trolling and stuff back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of that was you know.
So the controversy's been around for a long
it's
time.
been around for a while. He's
It's
what
as
you're
old
gonna
as man.
what you're
itself.
gonna talk about today. My dad probably created part of the
He's-
problem.
He's the forefather of it all.
No, but that was a different time back then, right? You didn't, from
Huh.
a conservation standpoint.
Yeah,
right?
there was
It
more
just
fish and
different.
less fishermen.
But it was interesting. All of a sudden, Winkleman's like, yeah, this guy is this. He called them out right in front of all these people getting autographs. I was like, oh wow,
That's
okay,
pretty cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I still have his autograph anyway.
I don't even have it.
So I
That might
got
have
it. It's in a childhood bin.
Yeah.
Of sorts somewhere.
Well, so it would make sense because all the southern shows were on TNN, and then I can't remember. Like I think it was maybe ABC or something like that. That's where all your Midwest shows were on. Like Babe Winkleman was on there. You guys
Yep.
remember Al Masacomer? Remember that guy, musky fishing and all that kind of stuff? No, Joe
I
Booker.
don't.
Okay,
Or
so-
Bob Masacomer.
Tony
That-
Dean, you guys probably.
Tony Dean Outdoors.
Oh, yeah, that's
love
old
that
school,
show.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways,
Brandon-
Joe Booker.
So, Brandon, I'm gonna mention. Your comment here is you talking about my dad pulled out a box of bandits. Next time you ask him where he figured out how to fish a bandit, and we'll have that story go full circle.
Now
Because
it's
you know, you are-
Brian's horn.
you know the
toot it.
story.
Pleading the fifth.
Yeah, you know.
Toot
Can
the
I?
horn, Brian.
Can
So
I?
I wanna you ask him where he learned how to fish bandits from.
All right, let's get people fired up.
I'm already fired
Fired
up. What
up?
do you mean?
I know we came in here with a lot of energy today. Usually we start the show like, "Hey guys."
No, it's only Mondays when it's
Yeah.
So we
snows.
could
but like right now we're on fire.
we could segue into from the MLB into
MLB.
Major league
or
bassing.
MLF. Excuse me. So,
There's a lot of acronyms nowadays.
Am I transferring over here? I mean,
help!
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going through.
There's a lot of acronyms nowadays, man.
Northland AOC, the, MLF. We could look at regulations around the
Conservation.
conservation
Yeah.
around the brain shut down the bass spawning
Okay.
versus the open and closed seasons too. So this is where that MLF format
Yep.
changes things. Like you got the Sturgeon Bay Open. It's another one where the catch and release season ends later than the tournament, so you can take the fish from their spawning beds.
From their bed. Yep.
Yep, transform them. So I don't know. What's your thoughts? Do you think
I would rather keep the fish where it's spawning, right?
Right.
if we want to protect that fishery, the
Yep.
smallmouth and largemouth bass, to have a catch and release season would fit right into that MLF format?
Absolutely.
And then now you have to argue, well, so you can fish the fish on beds. Are you disturbing them more or less than if you transfer the fish from its bed 5 miles away and then? I'm
Well,
not
here's my argument with that. So if the female's on the bed and she's pre-spawn, you're not hurting anything if you take her. She hasn't spawned yet, right?
Yep,
I
yep.
think where the real harm comes from is in a bass, for instance, is when she spawns.
Yep.
The male moves in, fertilizes the eggs or whatever. Now he becomes a fry garter, right?
Yep.
So if you take that fry garter and move him away, those eggs
Right.
are gone. It's over.
Yep.
Right? Now, I don't know how long it takes for the gobies to move in and just decimate that, but that's what would happen,
Yep.
right, eventually, or with some other fish or whatever.
Right.
If you catch that fish and put it in right back in, at least up there, and you guys will see that fish swims right back to its spot, like instantly.
Yep.
Right.
Where
Goes
and
right
it goes,
back to that bed.
and if you wanted to, you could probably wait 5 minutes to catch it again. Just that they're protecting. They're not even eating. They're
Right,
protecting
just-
is
yep.
what they're doing, right? They're not eating. They're protecting.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. So I think in that regard, taking the fry garter off of the bed does a ton of harm to the numbers as a whole,
I would agree.
right? Because if you take that fish and move it, then nothing else is moving onto that bed to protect those fry.
No.
They're just done.
So what happens if you take a pre-spawn female? She hasn't dropped her eggs yet, but you hook her, throw her in the box, take her for 5, 10.
Oh yeah, it's not good for them.
So does the stress, what happens when she
Right.
gets released? Does she find the nearest bed? Does she drop her eggs just randomly because it's
If
time?
she could, who knows?
It's time,
No, keeping them where they are is by far the best answer.
So
In my opinion, you keep them where you caught them. That's by far the best answer.
So really, you should do the same thing with walleye tournaments, then, right?
Well, and that's why now a couple of bigger circuits, the AIM thing went with the catch record release. The Bago Walleye series does catch record release. We basically catch it, measure it, write your number down, put the fish back.
Right.
with the information and the data that we have, it's not like if you don't adapt that format, you don't care about the fishery, but
Right.
you're not saying, hey, I want to do everything I can to protect the species that I love to catch. I don't know. That's kind of a catch.
Well, and I
22
think
on
from
that,
a
but
tournament angler standpoint, or from a tournament standpoint, from the public's view, I don't want to say they all hate tournaments. The cities like tournaments because it brings a lot of dollars
Yep.
in, right?
Right.
Yep.
But the local angler that fishes his little spot every Saturday morning, and this happens, right? He fishes that spot every Saturday morning, 4 months a year. When those tournaments show up, he's not a happy camper
No, he
because
thinks it's his
he
spot.
thinks it's his spot. Now,
Public water, his
now,
spot.
in my opinion, again, if a guy buys a license and I buy a license to fish there, right? It's public water.
both have
Yep.
equal rights. Yep.
You're, the guy that lives there, I don't feel like his 5 fish limit's any more important than my 5 fish limit.
Right.
So that's always that argument is, the tournaments are trying to do all of these things from a conservation standpoint to help keep those fish where they are for the guy, but the guy is still going to be a crabby ass because I don't
Right.
understand that. And I'm a tournament guy, so obviously my viewpoint is from a tournament from a tournament angler standpoint.
Well,
I would love to hear from anybody who is the local guy who hates the tournaments to get his side of
Why? Yeah.
why he hates
Why.
the
Right.
fact that my 5 fish aren't as valuable as his 5 fish.
Right.
Yep.
When we both paid the same amount of money to fish on that lake.
And ultimately, depending on the tournament, let's say it is a walleye tournament, you're a tournament fisherman, you're going to keep those 5 fish, right?
Well,
'Cause if the
typically
less-
though, but I don't really keep fish ever. I don't really even like to eat fish. I fish for sport personally, right? I'm not a big I'm just not a big guy.
But do most tournament fishermen let those fish go after that tournament if they're alive, or do they keep them?
Well, the tournament does it.
Walleye
I
fishing,
think
I'm
it
saying.
depends. It's a species very species specific thing. So
Right.
your bass tournaments, other than the live well transportation and
Yep.
the death that does happen.
Yep.
Everybody tries to avoid it. They
But even if I
recirculate
kill 3 of those 5,
yes,
I killed 3.
You
The
could-
local guy killed 5.
but you could have potentially killed all 5 if you wanted to.
I could, yeah,
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. It's within my legal right to kill those 5 fish
Yep.
because it's my, what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't understand. I don't get it.
No.
Yeah, right. Let's.
Yeah, I would just love to hear. I'd love to hear the other side of that.
Yep.
I would love to hear the local guy that fishes every day why he despises tournament fishing when most of the conservation stuff that creates the fishery that he fishes in comes from
From
tournaments.
money.
Yep.
Yep.
I would love to know how you're against this.
Right.
Now, again, we talk a lot about filming tournaments and all this stuff. Are you giving away his secret spot? I mean, that could be an issue. Okay, fine. Whatever. But strictly on the fish conservation part of it, if you're just looking at that, I'd love to know the negative from tournaments.
Well, just from the ice fishing side, you spoke about a secret spot. If you pull up to the same spot every single day, you're going to draw attention whether you're catching fish or not.
Oh, for sure.
It'd just be like if you go to the same spot on your lake and you're ice fishing that same
yeah.
spot, you could fool a lot of people. And I'm not catching a single fish, but
But
they're
why do
gonna
you keep going back there?
Why do
Matt?
you
Why
keep-
do you keep sitting in the
exactly.
same spot 9
So
times in a row?
you know,
Exactly,
you're
you're
talking
right.
about giving up a secret spot. You do that by going to the same
I'm just
spot.
trying to come up with a reason
No.
why they're so against the tournaments when the
understand
tournaments
that.
do nothing but. And I know a lot of guys that run these tournaments. It's 100% conservation. That's all they care about is the money that they make. They're constantly putting it back into these fisheries, right? Like, how is this bad? How does this affect anybody negatively?
So how does that work for, let's just say, a walleye or a bass tournament? So do some of the winnings go back to like the bass club or?
Like the angler winnings? No,
Yeah,
that's their money.
that's all
I mean,
the-
if they
but-
decide they want
but-
to do it, that's up to them.
But, okay, so the payouts then, does the club keep some, or are they all 100% payout?
no, they're usually 80-ish.
so then
I mean,
that money goes to the club,
yep,
and the
and
club,
then club
does whatever
club
it does.
donates it. I mean, they're a business, right? They're trying to survive
Well,
and make money, and that's
It would
how
be
it works.
it would be no different than like Payne's Point. Right now when we interviewed him the other day, that $20 helps keep that going, which helps keep the roads plowed and all that kind of stuff helps pay for that
Right.
club to maintain the water and all that kind of
Yep.
stuff as well.
So Brandon says he hears a lot of local guys say that the fish caught during tournaments are capped are larger than they normally would keep. Okay, maybe that's an argument there. I don't.
Are we on bass specific right now?
No,
or-
I just
think we're-
think as a whole.
I think
I think what he's saying there is that as a whole, a tournament guy's trying to keep the 5 biggest fish he can.
Yep.
Right, which goes back to the MLF being better
right.
because you're not
'Cause you're
keeping
letting
any
them-
of
My
them. You're letting
question,
them all
my
go.
question is, I wonder how much that differs from the actual average.
I would
angler
agree
fishing.
completely.
And that's going to segue into the new proposed walleye regs too, right?
Yep.
So Winnebago system, they're proposing taking the limits from 5 down to 3.
Yep.
If
Should've
I'm,
been done
if I'm
years
in the
ago.
market to harvest fish, and now I can only take 3, would that not encourage me to take 3 larger fish so I have a higher yield? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
think it would.
personally though. In my opinion with that, I don't think most people they keep what they catch.
Yep.
Fact, right?
Generally.
We talk a lot about time available to do this stuff, right? If I go out, maybe I'm not the greatest fisherman in the world. Maybe I only have an hour to fish. I'm not letting a 24-inch walleye go if I catch it.
Nope.
That fish is getting filleted because I'm taking home. That's why I'm doing it. So I don't think that. I think the local guy. I think there are. I'm not saying I'm not trying to categorize
No,
everybody.
I think
But
there's
I
a
do
lot
think
of guys that
they're
if 24-incher, that fish is going to go back.
That's awesome.
Then that's the way it should be. We talk about
But I've seen a
an
lot of
eater size.
But I've seen a lot of giant tails coming down the Wolf River in the spring in 5-gallon buckets,
Yeah,
right? Like
no,
we're
I
talking
agree.
tails like this.
I
That ain't
agree.
a 24-incher.
right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
And all those fish aren't getting mounted.
No,
Right.
no.
Right.
They're getting knifed.
But then again, you say that you paid the money. If you want to keep that fish,
Well,
keep that fish.
I agree.
But I
I agree. That guy paid the money. It's 100% within his right to keep that fish.
Yep.
and you always say I'll go back to it deer hunting wise. You want to shoot an 8-pointer, shoot an
Yeah, I
8-pointer.
agree.
In my opinion, if it's a year old, and we'll get to this in a different show, I'm gonna let that year old.
But this
walk.
is
Deer
where-
hunting and fishing is not even the same because
But-
it's public waters. We all share that
What's
water.
if it's on public land though?
Right.
What percentage of deer are killed on public versus private? Do you have those numbers?
No.
You said
Well,
you were
it's
bringing them.
It's a different
Morning,
show.
Russell.
It's a different
Yeah, that's
show.
a whole nother show.
No, it
Holy
is.
cow.
So, anyways, but
All
No,
right.
but it brings up a good point.
but
Yep.
Right? It brings up a good point. I think here's how governments work, right? Government regulations come from trying to protect people from themselves.
Yep.
That's fact,
Fact.
right? So if everybody monitored or dealt with conservation the way Justin does, there would be no need for size limits. There would be no need for catch daily bag limits. There'd be no reason for possession limits. None of that would need to exist if everybody
It might
operated
once in
like
a
you.
while.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like it wouldn't have to happen. But that's
Yep.
why we have to do these things is because people don't. Not everybody, right?
Yep.
And there's just not enough people give a shit.
Well, I think it's just
don't.
human nature because I mean you think about like sturgeon for example, and when we first moved into Wisconsin and they found the sturgeon fishery of the world basically and completely destroyed it almost.
Yep.
And it's just like why'd they do it? Well, because they wanted to. That's just how people operate. So
Well,
at
but now
the-
how long ago was that? I mean, there's a survival aspect back.
well, no, that was like in
years
the
ago.
like in the 1900s. You know,
Well, that's
so
what I'm saying.
not-
But that's a survival thing at that point, wasn't it?
no, not.
You don't think so?
No.
You used to be able to, when sturgeon spearing first started, you used to be able to spear a fish, go get a tag. It's like shooting fall
Right.
turkeys. Like, you shoot one,
go get another
register
tag.
it, go
Yeah.
get another tag. Shoot one, go get
Right,
another
but
tag.
I think time, technology I mean,
Right.
look at what we're fishing with nowadays.
Right.
But also being
Oh,
able to see what
absolutely.
you're doing to the numbers and actually caring about
Well,
conservation.
but-
Because you got to remember back in those days, in the early 1900s, I mean, think about buffalo. I mean, buffalo are a beautiful animal that are awesome to hunt, but when you have 500 of them left in the world because
No, I agree.
we just decided, hey, let's kill them all.
But I just think
they're
everything.
delicious.
I just think it's
Right.
so much easier now. Catching fish now, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's
Right.
easier than it
Oh,
was
God, yeah.
50 years ago.
Well,
So
it-
if you can cast a ball out into the river or the lake and look at it on your cell phone to see if there's fish there or not
Right,
and move
right.
on, you couldn't do that 50
Right.
years ago. You couldn't do
No.
it 10 years
Well,
ago.
we did
Our
that show on the
technology
Garmin
is-
or on the Panoptics. I mean,
Yes. Every sturgeon
that's
spear
going to
should have
make a
Panoptics.
lot of subpar fishermen better fishermen.
Well, now the argument to that though is not everybody can afford the Panoptics.
Yep.
So now
Correct.
you're hurting the guy that fishes in his 14-foot boat, right? Because that's what he's got. Now you're taking 2 fish away from him because a lot of people have better technology. So there's that argument too.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, again, as anglers, we are more educated. We have a lot better gear. Technology is amazing. It's not a good time to be a fish,
No,
that's for sure.
there's still quite a few guys that don't use technology that still produce.
Yep. And as good of job as our DNR has or has not done managing our fish populations, there's more anglers with the same amount of
For
fish.
sure.
So
Yeah, the lakes haven't gotten any bigger.
the lakes haven't gotten any bigger, so
And there-
something
and-
has to be done.
Well, and with the internet now, if you're Zach and you want to learn how to fish, right? Like the guys we were talking about, Winkleman and stuff, that taught us how to fish. Those guys figured out how to fish on their own,
Right.
Yep.
right?
Right.
Zach wants to learn how to fish. There's 700 hours. It's probably not even. I don't even know how many hours.
There's like millions.
millions of
So-
hours of guys on YouTube showing you how to fish.
and
That's
then
like the
they're
best thing
showing
in the
you
world, though,
exactly
too. I mean,
where.
think about it, because I
Good
could literally
or
just go.
bad.
I can walk, into a river system and go, what do I need to look for? Pull
Right.
up my phone and go, where are the fish at?
See, back to the MLF thing and tournament fishing. Like I think that there's a bunch of young guys, young guns now in bass and walleye. They're taking the world by storm. These guys are so awesome. Well, they've been taught they got everything's in front of them, right?
Right.
If you're a good student of the game, so to speak, it's all right here in front of you on this little device, right? You know every tournament in the last 10 years, what they caught their fish at. It's
Yep.
all out there. The guys 20 years ago, those guys were
They
awesome.
didn't have all that data.
You always talk about the GOAT in other sports, right?
Right.
Like comparing Tom Brady to Bart Starr and all this kind of stuff. Well, training
Different
now,
era, yep.
the training, it's so hard to do that because the training that athletes can go through now compared to what Bart Starr had to do training-wise,
Right.
not even close. Wilderness athlete didn't exist.
Right.
Like there was no performance
Bart
supplements and
Starr
stuff.
was drinking whiskeys and smoking
Oh yeah,
cigarettes.
for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
You know, carrying.
Like they came straight out of the bar in the morning. It's like varsity blues. They
Right.
right out of the bar, right to the
Right
field.
to
Here
the
we
field.
go, boys.
Yep.
Let's go.
So there's a couple good comments on here. Like Brandon again, he's very active today. He says, "I still think a spring slot limit would be awesome on the Wolf River."
I agree. I'm 100% in favor of that.
100%.
I think most people would concur with that.
100%.
Why-
You know the guys who won't agree with that are the guys that are out there to just slaughter everything
Well,
they
and
catch.
that's over harvesting, which
problem.
we'll cover.
But
at a-
that's why we're
yes.
getting into the regs.
Yep. So then Russell
Yeah.
says,
Right?
Absolutely.
Russell says, with the majority of die-off of predator species last spring on the Bago, thousands of dead fish now isn't the time to make adjustments in his opinion. The predator-prey ratio will be very different this year than years prior. I mean, that's one thing nobody's really commented on or thought about is,
What is he talking? I wasn't aware of. There's a big.
There-
predator
with
guy
the-
out.
either that's
was
what I
that
was-
with the algae bloom, I think?
Was
think-
that
yeah,
with
but I
the
thought
Pike?
it was
I
a
think
lot
we
Was that
of.
the
lost a lot
Pike?
of pike.
I thought that was like 2 years ago.
We lost a lot of sheephead because of that
Well,
runoff
yeah,
in
he'll
Oshkosh.
probably comment.
Yeah, no,
please
Russell, if
elaborate
you're-
on that a little
Well,
bit.
if he's here, he could just walk in here.
Right.
That's
true.
No, but if
Why
it,
is he not? Why are you not working?
no, but so that Pike thing happened a couple years ago, the die off, right? And then
Yep.
last year we had that big
It was sheephead,
sheephead
white bass,
die-off.
crappie. That's what I
Right,
thought
right.
last year. Yeah.
But after that northern thing happened, remember?
Yep.
I mean, there's more northern in the Wolf River right now than ever.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what Ty
there
said
are.
on Monday.
Ever.
It costs him a bunch in tungsten every time he fishes the Wolf
Right.
River. 'Cause
So
he's-
I don't know. I'd love to know more about that. I didn't follow that close.
So I'm just going to go down a real quick rabbit hole real fast. Why is the DNR coming after fishermen when we should be going after the people in the industries that are messing with our water supply and all of our fish in our waters with all the runoff fertilizers and all that garbage?
Well, that's a whole nother.
Boom.
That's a whole
that's
nother area.
that's the issue that I would have
Well,
is
and
looking at the bigger picture. Is I really don't think it's the fisherman's fault when we have things like that happening every year. We wouldn't have
White
to worry
bass,
about
Some of it's
that.
natural,
perch,
some of it's
panfish.
some
Right.
of it's man.
Right.
I think that spill in Oshkosh by that paint company
Yeah.
It was controversial.
That's
if
what I
if
thought.
that's
The
what
Pike
actually
was
called the die-off.
2-3 years ago.
The
Yeah.
Pike, I think, was from
Jason-
elevated temperatures, low oxygen, low dissolved oxygen.
Right.
in
One
the
of
upper
Jason.
lakes.
Jason said that Pike die-off was 3 years ago.
Okay, so 3
For
years
sure.
ago. Yeah, I think the pike population on the Winnebago system is regulated okay. I would like to see a
cut-
cap on the upper end to try to manage it more as a trophy fishery. 'Cause
But the-
as anybody knows,
oh.
if anybody knows the potential of pike size in the Winnebago system is awesome. Just look what's happened to Little Lake Butamore.
Here's my okay. So I don't know if you want me to get into
I don't
Just kidding,
care.
Russell.
the whole trophy fishery versus food fishery thing has always been a kind of a hot thing for me, because Winnebago is awesome, right? It's an awesome fishery. It's really diverse. It's one of the best places you can fish, but it's not managed for a trophy fishery.
It's managed as a put and take.
It's managed as a how many fish can you take home and eat place. Like I've went Saginaw Bay, Lake Erie from a walleye standpoint. Numbers wise, Winnebago is not. I mean, Winnebago could be one of the top fisheries in the country if it wanted to be managed as one of the top fisheries in the country.
Well, Larry
It really
Smith
could
is always bringing that up on his show. You know, and if there's ever a person that fishes the Bago system, you know, Larry Smith is all over it.
Yep.
And he always referenced how Petenwell was almost the same way.
Yep.
They went to a slot, you know, and they managed. They realized they had to manage it.
They had a huge die-off there, though, too.
Well, but again, you know, we just talked about a die-off or disease affecting our
Sure.
fish populations. They had to do something. They did it, and he said now that fishery is better than it's ever been.
Right.
You know, you're getting a lot of big walleyes. Your panfish size has
I
increased.
won a tournament on Petenwell once by 12 pounds. Fact, I did.
It seems like a
Everybody
very large margin.
Everybody thought I cheated, but I didn't.
So now think about this though. The nice thing about these die-offs though, you're taking care of a lot of the weak fish, and the fish that survive are going to be the stronger fish.
See, no, I
You're
didn't.
gonna
I got
pass
out of
that
walleye
on.
fishing 2 years ago. I don't know if it was last year, and if one of you guys, Brandon, last year or the year before, the fish were literally committing suicide.
Yep.
Which means, what does that tell you? That tells you there's not enough bait fish in
No
the
food,
system
yep.
to feed them. It was just, they were jumping in boats.
So you were just what did you notice this year? How did you scout, and how did you find your sturgeon spot this year? Is it a spot you go to? I know it's off topic a little bit, but is it a spot you go to every year, or did you see? Because don't you look for like shad on the bottom of the water when you're sturgeon scouting?
Yeah, we use the camera a lot. This year we used the Pano. We didn't do a lot of scouting this year. But
Hence why you
there's-
haven't speared one yet, probably.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
a story behind that, but I don't
my
think
wife's
Justin
out
wants
there
to
right
talk
now.
about it.
Good
Good
luck,
luck, Jess.
Good luck, Jess.
Good luck.
If you spear one, I'll leave and I'll come help you.
When we're done with the show.
And I'll come
when we're
record it.
done, yeah.
But so I mean, were people saying there's a lot of dead shad on the bottom, or what was
No,
it this year? Was
I think the shad's way down again.
Okay.
I believe that is a report put out by the DNR when they do their trawling. So trout perch are way up. Young of the year perch, as everybody's seeing the perch population starting to rebound.
Yep.
So those are probably our two main forage bases, minus the, sheephead, fry,
right.
white bass fry. I don't know. I think the population's actually been hit pretty hard.
And that was one thing we were hoping to cover that day you were out on ice. I mean, at least I had know some of my family members had questions, like just in general on sturgeon scouting. I mean, don't have to cover that now, but
Camera's huge, so you want to look. You want obviously when a sturgeon feeds, it takes its deploys sucker.
Oh, Jess says it just had a giant come through with
Oh,
like
man.
I can't even read it, like
that's a lot of
20 exclamation points. Tell her she shouldn't be listening to you. She should be watching the hole.
You can't kill it if you don't throw it, honey. just send it.
just full
you
send,
know
full send.
how I roll. Anyway, yeah, you look for suck holes, drag marks, because then when they pick up the mud, and then they grab what they need out of it and they spit the rest out. So they make a depression.
Yep.
And then you can kind of tell if the depression's fresh or unfresh based on sediment kind of filling over it.
Yep.
And a lot of guys they'll dip worms. Look for worm beds.
What is it? What kind of worm is that again?
I think it's a red worm.
It's a
Okay,
red one.
It's
red worm.
it's what creates our lake flies, correct? The same
think
worm.
so.
Oh,
So if you imagine what the lake fly hatch looks like,
right.
that's there's a lot of food. There's a lot of food for
Yep.
the sturgeon. They feed on shad too, but so yeah, you're looking for and you're just looking for fish. You guys will sit, they'll cut a hole, or they'll drop a camera down, they'll sit there weekend for 4 or 5 hours and just look for sturgeon.
So
Super exciting.
So back to the size limit thing.
Oh,
So Larry made a comment. He said the Bago system's a peanut factory, and then Russell said he agrees, but in his opinion, cutting the limit to 3 is going to make it worse. I think what he's thinking there, not speaking for him, but I think he's thinking is that like what you said is I can only take 3 fish home now. I'm taking the 3 biggest fish home because I'm going to increase my yield.
Yeah, why would you?
Because that's what I'm doing.
It almost a slot would have to go hand in hand with
I would
a
agree.
decreased limit.
I think all you need is a slot.
Yep.
I think the whole system should just have a slot year round, in my opinion.
So
here's my thing. Like every slot fishery I fished over the years, catching the big fish. Big fish is what you want to go catch. That's fun.
That's what you want to take a picture of.
That's what you want to
show
take a picture
your
of.
friends.
Well, see,
But there's still plenty of fish in that slot that you can take home. I've never had a problem in a slot lake finding enough fish to eat. But it's fun when you go to Mille Lacs or whatever. It's got a slot and you're yanking in 30 inches all day long because that's fun.
Yeah, there's a side effect. You catch a lot of fish.
Yeah, that's
who thinks
isn't
that's
that
horrible?
fun? Like who goes fishing all? I got 4 hours to fish. And I only want to catch 5 fish. That's all I want, and I'm gonna go home.
Yep.
Like what? Like
Yeah,
who does that?
Nobody thinks that way.
Like hook sets are fun. Like that's fun.
Unless you're a Bassmaster Classic guy, and then
Yeah, if you only care about the
Then
elites,
you're
you want to
looking
watch
for
a guy
the
catch
5.
5 fish a day. Well, then that's your thing, I guess. But that's not what I want to do.
And I like catching that. And we've talked about my technique and what I like to do. And I like catching that one good-sized fish. But there's absolutely nothing more fun than catching 800 smaller
but
fish in
your
between
goal-
those big
Your
fishes.
goal is to catch one big fish, but you're okay with catching 30 little
Right.
fish in between until you get that one
Exactly.
big bite. I'm the same way. If I'm going out there, I want results, right? I don't have very good patience. You know, I'm not the target species guy like you.
Yeah, but you want numbers, right?
I want numbers. Yeah,
I want
exactly.
to just keep them coming as fast as
I'm a pan fisherman,
Yeah.
and how do
Oh,
you
yeah.
pan fish? You catch a bunch of pan
Yeah,
fish.
but if I could go out and I could get on a bite every 3rd cast, I'm setting a hook.
Oh,
That's the bite I'm going to go on.
Yeah, if I have 8 hours to fish, I'm going to fish for 8 hours, and I want to catch as many fish.
fish is
Yeah.
that possibly
Do I want to
can.
catch big fish? Absolutely.
Right.
But you're putting yourself in the position to
But
do
most
that.
guys are if they had the choice, not forget tournaments aside, if they had a choice, I'm going to go catch 62 pounders or I'm going to catch one 4-pounder.
Right.
Yep.
Whatever, right?
Right.
I want to go catch the 62s.
Now, if you could catch one, are we talking walleyes?
I don't
No,
know. I was
bass.
just general numbers,
Talking
right?
fish.
I mean, there's a lot of people that would give those 62 up for an 8-pounder.
I would agree.
let's
That's
be
why I didn't say
realistic.
8-pounder. I said 4.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference in that slot,
Yep.
right? I would agree. If I could go catch one 8-pound bass versus 51-pounder, 2-pounders, I'm going to catch that 8-pounder. I want to be that guy in that video we showed
Right.
before because that would just be like the coolest thing ever, right?
Well, we should work
There's-
on that slot because the fish are the people's resource, and the DNR are just the people's representatives.
there's
so there
so-
are some things we probably could do if we
It always comes back to that everybody wants to eat them. But I think they feel like a slot's going to decrease the chances of them going home with a limited fish, and it just doesn't do that. It protects the spawners is what it does.
Right.
There's still so many fish that you can eat, it's unreal.
Yep. The
So-
system's very fertile.
So I have a question.
And how many fish a year does an actual guy actually go through?
and how many fish should you go through? And that's a topic we'll discuss.
That's-
Well, I was
Yeah.
trying to segue to that.
well, I know, but
I
And you
tried.
missed it.
We've
And
gone
you
through-
missed
tried,
it.
and
we've
I
gone-
got shot
and a
down.
we've
fail.
hit so many topics today. Like we wanted to talk briefly about sturgeon spearing and camera use.
Yep.
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We could go down that road. I have a question on if we want to cover that, I could stop. We try to get back, but like we shut northern fishing off during the spawn,
Yep.
right? Would they ever shut walleye fishing down on the spawn during the spawn?
You don't need to if you put a slot on it. That's all you got to do.
Okay,
'Cause
and
that's what they did in the
that's
pier.
it.
What's the slot in the pier now?
1/28 as of like March 3rd.
Right, and how many
But
bullets?
now, prior to March 3rd, there's no size limit. You can take 3
Okay, of anything.
of any size. That
Right,
would
so
be
once the spawn,
Yep.
they shut her down. Now you fish there quite a bit.
Yep.
I-
Absolutely.
This is a loaded question because I know the answer.
No. Yep.
Has the slot decreased the number of boats fishing to pier on a 40-degree Saturday?
Absolutely not.
40-degree Saturday in the end of February, early March. Has the slot, once the slot goes into effect, is there less people fishing to pier? No, hell no. You can walk across the boats.
Right.
There's less happy people.
You could literally walk across the boats. The slot hasn't hurt that.
Hasn't
the
hurt it
slot's
at
made the
all.
bay better. That's what it's done.
Right.
It's made it better.
Right.
Yep. And that slot also protects people from eating the fish out of that system
See, in this
over a certain size length, because it's not something that's talked about a lot, but the PCB and mercury levels from Little Lake Butamore to the mouth of GB, and let's pretend it stops there and
Green
doesn't
Bay,
go
mouth of
into
Green
Green
Bay.
Bay. Yeah.
just making sure.
They recommend don't eat anything over 21 inches, like one meal a month, and it's all dependent on your weight. For an average 180-pound dude, it's like an 8-ounce piece of fish a month.
Right.
So why not slot it and not allow people to eat fish that are inherently bad for them anyway.
Right.
That makes way too much sense to use logic in the way you manage a fishery.
That's why we talked to.
Sorry.
I like emotions.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
emotional.
just
We're
kidding.
emotional people.
I'm
Logic
with
doesn't
you,
apply.
dude. I think slots are great for walleyes. That it's a
Right.
heavy sought after food fish. It's
Yep.
what it is. It tastes great. Let's be honest, right?
Yep.
For sure.
If you don't like walleyes, you probably don't
We're
like
not
eating
friends.
fish.
Yeah,
Wa-
right.
walleye
Right.
is
I
a
mean, they're great.
delicious
They're
fish.
awesome. That's why people fish for them, and that's great. But I personally want to go somewhere I got a chance to catch monsters, and,
Right.
and you know, everybody talks about the DNR being money driven, and I think they are a lot. It's about license sales. It's about that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
I would love to know the numbers of the amount of people from this area that drive to Lake Erie. Why do you drive to Lake Erie?
Right.
To go
Yeah.
walleye fishing. You don't drive to Lake Erie to catch 18-inchers.
No.
You buy an out-of-state license. You rent hotel rooms. You go to Lake Erie for one reason. You're trying to catch monsters.
Fill it up.
Now, the difference with Lake Erie is that those fish are like hybrid walleyes, and they
Yeah.
grow crazy fast. And the DNR lets you keep like 6 fish. So there's,
Right.
the guys that are going out there and making that run, they're loading coolers full. But that's because the DNR wants you to keep them because that ecosystem can't sustain the number of walleyes.
Right.
I knew a guy that my dad had a fish tank a number of years ago, and the guy had fish in the aquarium, actual game fish in an aquarium, and he said nothing eats more than a walleye. He said a walleye will eat until it dies, which is, we'll get on the topic of what's harder to catch, bass or walleye someday, but he said if I keep feeding that walleye, it will eat until it blows. It just doesn't stop eating.
That's crazy,
It just does not stop eating.
actually.
Now, maybe that's a tank fish versus a wild fish. I don't know.
Right.
But I think that if you take that information and then you look at like what the Ohio DNR has done, where the spring tournaments, they kill all the fish. And they take all the fish and they go to the food pantries.
Yeah.
Because they know it's a great way to get some of those bigger, non-spawning fish out of the system because, like we talked about before, that's what those tournament guys are after, those big non-spawning females,
Yeah.
right? That's what they're after. But that's what Ohio has done. But back to my point about money, if you really want to win a Bago, raise some money, put a slot on there, have that system grow the giants it's capable of growing in many different species, right? Northerns. I caught a 43-inch northern on Winnicott last year.
Which is huge.
It's an awesome fish, but it's a freak. It was a freak fish.
But it could be
But-
a lot more common
Yeah.
If it
it was
was
awesome. Pull
managed.
up on a frog in a foot of water. You want to see some freak show.
Yeah, that's an awesome fish. It's too bad the pike don't get the same respect that the muskies get because they are both a apex predator that crush
Oh, it was awesome.
stuff.
Destroyed my
Like-
$10 frog.
That's the thing, though, is, the muskie's a fish of, the 10,000 cast fish. Well, guess what? The northern is pretty much the same fish, but it bites more often, so why not target them and go after the big northerns? They're very, very similar fish, you know what I mean? Like, that's another topic, but...
Do you think the muskie is that way because it's a state fish? Like if the northern pike was a state fish, it would be the same way as a
I
muskie?
don't know. I don't know if I bet you if you polled like 100 guys, they won't know the muskie is a state fish.
I actually did not know that.
I didn't know
So
that
there
either.
you go.
And I can
If
almost
Justin-
I
if-
can almost recite this.
If Justin doesn't know it's a state fish, about 90% of the people don't know
Don't
it's a
know.
sthe fish.
So then why is
So I don't think
why
that's
is the
an
muskie
issue.
on the pedestal then? Because it's the fish. It's a legend. I mean, I don't know.
Well, they get
Say-
50 inches. I mean, they're just freaks.
Well, think about this though. You caught a 43-inch pike, and you said that's a freak, right?
Oh, it was
but you don't.
awesome.
You could fish all day and not catch a 43-inch pike. So why is
Right.
that fish
oh,
not?
you catch a 40. Most guys catch a 43-inch muskie.
You know, like
they're
so.
jacked.
Jason earlier said the Bago fish. He's catching a bunch of pike this year that are really nice. 38 inches, the biggest one.
Do you know that dual walleye stringer we have? Remember this from Oshkosh, the dual walleye
Oh, yeah,
stringer?
yeah.
That's Jason's.
Okay.
That guy.
Oh, but yeah, he's
Sorry.
got he's many to 30 to 30. He said the population is just fine. So I can't remember where the heck I was going with that
Well,
tangent, but it's
think about fish and what I was trying to get in before. Think about
Did
it
I
like
cut you
when
off? I apologize.
No, it's fine. We do it to each other. But no, what I'm saying though is like think about when you go to do food plots and whatnot. We were talking with Matt True about lighting things on fire, like fields and garages and things. But anyways, same thing. You get rid of all those plants. Those plants grow back. They're happier. Well, guess what? You just cull off all these fish that are maybe not ideal to be in those waters. Maybe they're a little bit weaker, so it kills off all those. The other ones that are left are going to be the stronger, bigger fish. Guess what? That promotes them to grow because they have more food.
right.
A little bit thrown off, but it promotes that. Get bigger fish out of it.
It is. It's just a priority of the fishery.
Right.
As far as what I think is important to the DNR of sturgeon's probably number one. right?
I would agree.
Best sturgeon fishery. Why would you not do everything in your power to protect it?
Yep.
It's unique to you. It makes you feel special. It's a great fishery.
Well, and look, we talked
Next,
about look at how much
walleye. Yep.
money that brings to these small towns and stuff.
Yep.
It's awesome.
You know, they sell what, 13,000 tags or some $20 $20 a pop, and then at what 1,000 fish they shut it down. I'd like to have some of that.
Right? I was trying to find that northern I caught this summer just because it's cool.
Yeah, no, that's very, very cool. So,
There's- this is really fun. I love reading. I know it's kind of putting a lull on the show at times, but the comments, there's a lot of great feedback on.
Well, and it's hard to read all of them, and they're
It
kind of
is.
having their own conversation.
Yeah,
which
and that's
is great.
what I think is
that's
awesome. We appreciate.
No, seriously, post more, comment more.
yeah.
there's a lot of people
Ask us
that
questions.
share.
Tell us if we're wrong.
Well,
If
and
it's
that's-
well, I was gonna say if it's something you really want us to talk about
Yeah,
here, try to call one of us out so I can
Yes.
kind of catch it. 'Cause
Right.
they're
Well,
going
I
back
know
and
that's
forth a
like
lot.
I was just gonna say the same thing because like Brandon and
Larry
some
are
other
going
guys
at it.
are having their own conversation. Reply to Brandon. Don't just put it in the comments. So we know. I mean, if you we love it though. Like again, this is all opinions. None of we're trying to find as many facts as we possibly can, but
And none
this
of
is
us
the
we don't have the time. I'm not claiming
No.
to be a DNR
No,
biologist.
none of
by
us
any
are.
stretch of the imagination.
your thoughts are different than mine.
Half of what I'm saying is feelings. no joke.
And
I
those
mean,
matter
it is.
more.
It's my personal feelings.
But one thing I think us and a lot of the people viewing this is a slot limit is probably a really good idea for the Bago system.
Petition it.
I mean, it really could. And I think there's been a lot of people that have been advocates of it for years. So if anybody, if the DNR is listening to TRS Live, which they should
They will be someday.
I think as a consensus, that's probably one thing they should consider to do as a slot limit.
I don't see the negative of a slot limit.
There isn't one.
I've thought about
because
it.
who's really? Because I actually am super.
Well, that's a
uneducated.
good question.
So
I'll cut you
for
off.
me,
What for people that fish Minnesota? There's a lot of slot limits in Minnesota. Do you notice a negative on that?
Right.
So go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say. So I'm assuming what you're talking about, just because it shows my uneducated side in this, is a slot limit. I'm guessing is just this size to this size. Anything smaller, anything bigger, right? You can't keep.
Yep.
Okay, so that's perfect. That's
Yep.
exactly what I thought. There is no negative because the guy who does care, who is abiding by his own feelings that a fish this big shouldn't be taken home, right? That guy is doing a lot of good for the fishery. The guy who is going out there, like, not to say anything, but Brian, like you said, they can pull what they want, which is absolutely true,
Right.
without that slot limit. But the guy who's taking that 26-inch, 27-inch, 28-inch fish out of that system and now is going to eat it or do whatever with it. You know what I mean? Like that's just it's not helping anything.
Yep.
So if we could just enforce them to be that helpful person who only fishes for that, there's literally no negative.
Well, no, and keeping
Oh,
those
yeah.
spawning females in the system, all it does is create more fish. And the one thing we all have in common is we want more fish.
Right.
Right? We have more fish to
Well, if
eat.
you want
we have more
more-
fish to catch. We have more fish to
Right.
put on Facebook.
And big
I mean,
fish are fun to catch.
And big fish are fun to catch.
Look at that. That's
big,
the
big
one.
fish are that's off of Lake Winneconne. It's
Yeah,
a
Lake
43-inch
Winneconne.
fish off of Lake Winneconne. That's fun to catch.
It is
I don't want
awesome
to catch. I don't
pike.
want to catch a bunch of 20-inch snakes. I want to catch that.
Right.
No, that was a total blind luck fish. I take no credit for trying to actually catch that fish, other than the fact I got in a boat.
Can you imagine how many walleyes that pike eats?
See
Probably
now,
a-
so now
probably
can-
like a
let's bring up
1,000.
another topic though, going back to the muskies and the northern deal.
I'm just saying, I
is
take.
if everybody's taking those 20, the legal size fish and just getting rid of them because they're going to eat them because they don't want them in the water because they steal their baits, they're preventing these size of fish from being grown.
Like-
So how is the northern different than a muskie?
Like I'm saying, I
Done.
take zero.
They're not.
I take zero credit from catching that fish. I was bass fishing. But I'm just
Did
saying.
you use a walleye as bait?
No, that's illegal to use a game
I
fish as
know.
bait, Matthew.
I know, but I just love
I just
Justin's
Matthew'd him.
comment. Justin's comment is phenomenal.
Legal.
It's illegal.
It's legal.
What was it? What was his comment?
What about how many
Oh,
walleyes
walleyes
that
that
fish?
Who said that?
You did.
What?
I just
On
love,
here?
I love the way you stir the pot. It's phenomenal. No, like I like Jason's comment. Where was it? It was about the perch. Did you guys see that one at all?
Yeah, the perch with the
Someone
like 12
once
inch
told
versus
me
12.
that a 12-inch walleye tastes like a 12-inch perch. My response to him was a 12-inch walleye is only 1 year old, and a 12-inch perch is somewhere around 10 years old. His look was priceless, and to this day, he hasn't kept anything under 15 inches.
Oh, nice.
I mean, but think about that.
Well, fish size is almost directly related to the way they taste, too. I mean, look at
Well,
beef.
it's-
You
I
don't
was
want to
gonna
eat
say
a, you don't want to eat a
versus
Yeah,
old dirty
deer would
steer.
be the same way,
Deer
right?
are the same way.
Yeah.
Right.
My
Six
deer are
and a half
delicious.
year old rutted.
Brian's deer probably tastes like crap, right?
Why is
Because
that?
they're older.
Oh.
Right.
I didn't say they were bigger. We'll leave that out. But
You've shot bigger deer than I have the last couple of years.
no.
Yeah, I just, that's where we could go into the next one is, so we talked about the walleye. So Mike, one other question is, if you did the slot, would you decrease the limit or leave the limit the same?
I would have left it at 5 and just put a slot on it.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody asked, is a slot limit feasible on the Bago system? I guess I can't answer that. I'm not, versed enough in. I don't see why it isn't. Why isn't it? Why would
Right.
it? What would it harm? I don't know. Maybe that's a great question. Maybe there's not enough food in the system to have a slot.
I'm sure there's probably.
But the slot doesn't have to be a 3-inch range either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The slot could be whatever size, depending. All the slots are intended to do is protect the spawners. That's all it does. Eat the males, protect the spawners.
Yep.
Once the spawners get too big and they're not in that cycle anymore, and then you can keep them again.
Right.
Well, so where we're at right now is for the last however many years, the DNR said this is how we're managing our fishery. This is the right way to do it. What happened? Were you wrong for the last 20 years?
Well,
Are you willing to try a slot? What's the worst that can happen? At least
You
try
go
it.
back to the way it was.
you can always change
You
it.
can always change it.
I mean, look we got another
takes
topic coming
17
up in the
years,
future
but-
here about CWD.
Right.
I don't know, maybe next week. I don't know when we're planning that, but we got a big CWD topic about the DNR possibly being wrong
Right.
about that. That's I mean, they can be wrong. One, the thing is, I'm not trying to point the finger at the DNR and saying they're bad.
No.
They're only trying to deal with the information they have at the time, and that's not easy to do when you're dealing with fish.
Yep.
And
at
they're
the same
underwater.
time, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it more
Oh,
than just
yeah,
fishermen.
huge.
So like they
Oh,
have
right.
to, so as time moves on and time progresses, things change just in the habitat itself. So they got to be able to not only manage the fish themselves, but the fishery and everything going on around it.
Well, like we
Oh.
talked about, there's disease, there's other things that happen to the fish population, but it's only going to make it better if you have a slot limit on it, right? We, in a roundabout way, Mother Nature is going to take care of itself. If there's too much of one thing and the balance is off, Mother Nature is going to shut it down. It happens with deer, it happens with rabbits, and all that other kind of stuff. So it'll happen on its own, So you just
It's like natural selection. It's like eating fish with PCBs. I mean, that's just Mother Nature's way
Just, hey,
thinning the herd.
don't be hating.
I ain't hating. I personally,
I'd like to
actually
live
wish-
dangerously, okay?
I personally wish there were 3 to 4 times the amount of DNR agents on the ground than there are now.
I agree.
For the entire last fall that I was fishing almost every day with Nick, we didn't see a single DNR
Nope,
anywhere.
and you won't.
No matter at even the most popular spots, nothing.
And that's a running joke, but I won't
I've
get
fished
into
my
it.
whole life. I've fished and hunted my whole life. I've been stopped twice.
Yep.
Once-
Jess
once
and I
the-
were stopped last weekend by the DNR.
I got stopped one time duck hunting with
Yeah.
with my buddy Travis, and then I got stopped once out on the lake. That's it. In 30 years of being
You've seen
on the
almost
outdoors.
more ghost cows hunting than you have seen DNR wardens.
He wasn't listening.
You weren't
to
listening
that.
at all.
I heard. Well, my way. I heard you.
But
when we get Travis on here, Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush.
Yep.
Him and I got some stories that
That,
we may or may not been on something. I don't know.
End of the month. End of the month.
month he's coming on?
Travis
Okay.
Manson's going to be
We'll
on.
save it-
I think he's going to be Skyped in.
I'll
I don't think
have-
he's gonna
Okay,
be
we'll
in
save
town.
those stories.
I'll
for
have
when
my
he's on.
X-Files keyboard over here for your story.
We got some stories.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. So we talked about walleye, so we can just roll right into the panfish. The one other one that was talked about that we read was proposal of panfish going from 25 to 15.
Yep.
Again, it takes a lot more panfish to make a meal, depending.
Right.
Now, if you think about it the way I think about it, and we talked about this one other show, is 12 fish is too many fish to clean, in my
who
opinion.
wants? Yeah, right.
It's just like you shoot a deer and all the work starts after you shoot that deer.
Right.
It's fun to shoot it, but now I mean, after the last thing I really care to do is that's why I don't keep a lot of fish personally, is just because I don't want to clean the dang things.
Is that what you tell
afterwards.
people?
Well, it,
It's either that or sunset pictures.
yeah,
That's what
I
he's
don't
got,
take
right?
a lot of sunset pictures. So, but
I
no,
don't,
it's
do you know what I
just-
mean by the sunset picture?
Yeah. Justin said if guys take a lot of sunset pictures, they're just terrible fishermen.
That's because they're not catching
No,
anything.
Yeah, you did. I'm throwing
If
you
at
under
the
bus
end of the
there.
day, fine, bust me. I don't care.
I'm the same way. I feel the same way.
Yeah, if you want, I mean, you're out there to catch and share and share the experience. And at the end of the day, if you have a crappy day, you take a picture of the sunset. It's a beautiful picture.
Or the boat
But
ride
that's,
in or
that's
whatever.
all you
Yeah,
got.
yep,
That's
what
all
I
you have
got.
for that day.
Yep.
Right.
I love sunsets.
So
by the way.
that would
I have plenty of pictures I can share
But
with you.
and sunsets are great. Sunsets are great,
Yeah,
but
I
just
love 'em.
lead it with a picture of a fish first.
Right.
Right.
Well, and that's the panfish one is one of the reasons we started Throwback Thursday.
Right.
Because why not be proud of some of
Oh,
the small
absolutely.
fish you catch?
But they're not small for that species.
Right.
You catch a bluegill bigger in your hand, that's a big bluegill.
Now-
That's awesome.
Now again, should that fish be thrown back? You don't get too many bluegills that are 10, 12 inches.
Jason's like, he raises his hand. Lots of sunset pics.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
don't we all have them?
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's why you fish as much as you can. It's a volume game, sometimes more than it is.
Right,
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Store up the pictures for use
I
later.
feel
Exactly.
like does every fisherman just have a sunset picture folder on their computer? I just want to know what everybody's how many photos are in their files versus mine. Got about
if you
34.
take, here's the thing: if you take more sunrise pictures than sunset pictures, your odds will go up.
Yeah.
Fact.
I don't know.
It means you're on the water in the morning.
See,
I
I
get
don't,
that
I don't, I
part.
don't take sunrise pictures. I take a picture of whatever I'm drinking and the water just at
Oh, okay.
sunrise. That's my.
There you go.
I haven't caught anything yet this
Oh,
morning
nice.
picture.
Yeah. So the panfish one, it's not as exciting. Would have
And it's
Well,
not as exciting.
So with a panfish, so you had brought up before we got on our tangent is if you get your big bluegill, right, and you said should you throw it back because that's a big fish. I think that there's a higher likelihood of finding a fish that large in a school of panfish than there is with the other fish. So I think that it should be
well, then the
still.
equivalency, I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know enough about bluegill. I mean, I feel like there's more of them.
there is this whole
And they
biomass
just
of
spawn
fish.
more.
Yeah, there's a lot more of
Yeah.
them, but how many 10 inches are there? I mean, I
But what's
personally-
the-
you guys pick on me for my references, but I
No,
haven't
but
caught
I'm
that many of them.
I'm a bass walleye guy, salmon guy, right?
Yep.
I don't know what is the spawning size of a bluegill. Do they spawn earlier than a normal fish, age-wise, or do they wait till they're 2 or 3? Or I don't know. If somebody knows that'd be awesome to know. I have no idea.
See now, Jeff's comment here:
I don't either.
panfish limit reduction would have a lot of the double dippers. They're going to do it anyway.
I think they do it already.
you're going to do it
Oh,
already.
Yeah,
for
they do it
sure.
already.
They're going to
And
do it
that's
with
why,
all fish.
and that's what I
species.
hate about the not seeing so much DNR at these popular fishing spots. When you see 30 people fishing the same spot just from shore,
Yep.
no DNR presence, and then you see the same dude leave. with
I
a,
would
Well,
I
possession-
like
the guy
think the
leave
same
with a
way
bucket,
that Jeff
but
is.
the
leave
possession
with a bucket
limit.
Why I
come
brought
back.
that up.
But the possession limit, that's your. That includes your freezer?
Yes.
Yep.
Daily bag is, and then possession is
Is your
as a
is-
2-day total.
Is your
essentially.
freezer?
Yep.
So when everybody that fishes every day and catches a limit every day, they're already double
Yeah.
dipping.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people spread, family, friends. There's
Well,
a
it
lot of-
doesn't
There's a
matter,
lot
though.
of freezers located in other
For
locations.
sure.
Under the law, that's actually technically that's
Right,
illegal.
but let's the
Because
possession.
they
limit.
didn't catch them fish.
If I
you
catch
still
if I
caught
catch a
them
limit
fish.
of walleye and I give it to you, which sometimes I have to do, I'm just kidding, Matt. I shouldn't pick on you.
Matt needs to eat.
Yeah,
He
that's
gets
why I
sick.
got-
He
that's
gets
why I
sick
got
of
wilderness
venison.
athlete, Yeah.
Until those fish are consumed, that's my possession. Like those are my fish.
Yeah,
legally.
that's what I'm
On
saying.
that day,
so
wa-
it's still
on
Because
that
you
same
can't-
day, I'm done too. I
Right.
can't.
It's still illegal to do that.
But what's the possession limit on walleyes? 10.
10.
So
Possession's always double your daily
Yeah,
bag.
twice
right,
your
that's what I
daily
thought.
bag.
That's
Yep.
what I thought. So
So think about that.
everybody that's out there catches 5 fish a day, takes them home clean. They're double dipping anyway.
Now, unless you eat those fish.
Within that time frame,
Yeah,
right?
let's
But
say-
who
yeah.
eats 5 fish a day
Well, I think there's quite a few people
every
that,
day?
Well, not every day, probably not.
But then they're over their
Then
possession
they're
limit.
yeah, exactly.
If they're keeping them.
Now, I mean, all
Because if they're out
these-
there fishing for fun, then the slots and the sizes and all that stuff doesn't matter.
You hope that all these regulations help eliminate all this illegal activity, but it never will.
No.
It never will.
No.
And that's why these rules have gotten in place because, like you brought up with the buffalo, people started shooting every single dang buffalo they saw. So then finally people were like, we got to start regulating this. We
Right.
got to start
Oh, I agree.
regulating this. So you could, the rules are in place and they're, the old adage, they're meant to be broken as well, but just be courteous. Be safe, gosh darn it. But I
Be
mean,
safe.
You got a
be
sticker.
safe.
You
Oh,
got
yeah.
a sticker.
I got a sticker. You can buy these on the
Yay.
website. You can buy-
No, you
No.
can't.
Hold
Hold up. Nope. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make his face into what's called line art.
Okay.
And then we're going to add that to a be safe on there, and then we're going to sell it on the
I
website.
just did that this morning to be funny.
I think it is funny. I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, you would hope that these rules and regulations would eliminate those double dippers, those guys that poach deer.
But it's no different than firearms. The bad guys are going to be
they're
bad
gonna
guys.
do. Yep.
And it's no different than setting a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit and going 80.
I wish I could. Yeah,
You
I
know?
love that. You talked about that.
True story.
There was what I shared the other day. It was about a teacher, and about teachers thinking guns kill people or something like that. And
Oh,
the
yeah,
kid
yeah.
says that
Pencils
my
gave me-
pencil gave me my
That
bag.
one.
I'll see if I can find it and share it. But either way, so I mean, we're not going to go on the panfish one. It doesn't seem as exciting and is all that kind of stuff. There's not as much.
Well, no, I think it's along the same lines.
Right.
What is the number? You know what I mean? Like, what is too
Well,
many or what is not enough or what is
so
a feasible
here's,
number?
Here's my question, though. So, Justin, you panfish, right? So
Yeah.
you bring them home, clean them, and eat them?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mix
so
it up a little
so
bit.
how
I eat plenty
how
of
many
fish.
how many fish does it take to make a plate of food for you to eat if you're fishing bluegill?
Well, if,
For one person.
for one person, for like
three
your
bluegills,
3 bluegills. Okay,
which is probably like, I don't know, 10 ounces of actual flesh.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, so if 3 bluegills
it
makes
just
it
sounds
to
weird.
eat, so then
flesh.
Well, that's what it is.
Sorry.
So for one person, so if on average, I'm just going to use an example. I could be totally off on this, but if it requires you 3 bluegills to make one meal and you're a single guy, that gives you food for what, 5 days? A 15 fish limit.
Yep.
That's not too bad. You split it up against a couple, so you have 2
Right.
people in the household. Maybe you have some kids. I can see where you could get hairy.
Yeah, but you
I
split
think-
up at a couple, it's 30 if they both
Right.
go fishing.
Right.
Right. So then you still have how much fish. So I think that the 25 to 15. I mean, I always thought 25 was pretty steep, anyways. But in return, as we were talking about walleyes, where I fish up north in Park Falls, up there it's a 3 fish limit already on that lake. So why
For what
couldn't-
fish?
For walleye. Walleye's
Oh,
a 3 fish
yep.
limit. So if we could regulate it just per system and per water source, that would be more smart in my opinion.
When they do
Well,
it for
and
a
that-
point,
that's
but
what
there's
they do.
thousands of lakes. It's hard to have a
Right.
Right.
regulation
But
for
it's-
every one of them.
I'm assuming though that the lakes and everything is zoned, or is it by system?
Both.
Okay.
Well, it's mostly
It's usually
by
it starts
system,
by
lake.
well, it
yeah.
starts by
Yeah.
zone,
Sure.
and then each individual might have its own regs.
See, what's interesting for me is I'm still learning all of this stuff, so
Right.
this is great.
See,
So
my
I'm gonna
only
ask stupid questions.
my only fear with when you reduce the take, right, is at what point do people say it's just not worth my time?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And it's a cost thing for a lot of people.
Because like if you take goose hunting for instance, right, like if you're in the Horicon, you can shoot one goose, or if you're exterior zone, I think goose is one goose a day.
Okay.
Well, who's gonna go out there and set up 200 decoys and all that crap and go through all that work to shoot one goose?
Right.
Those guys work harder than.
Well,
Oh,
that
for
doesn't make
sure.
any sense. Now, if you're
Anybody.
going to go with a whole bunch of people, it's different. But that's why partly I quit goose hunting around here, and now they got issues with the geese taking over
Right.
all these areas and stuff. Well, I'm not going to shoot one. What's the point of that?
Did they increase that though?
I don't. Maybe they did. I don't know. I haven't. That was partly why I got out of it. It's the only reason I brought up the hunting. I know we didn't want to talk about hunting today. The only reason I brought it up was that I kind of got out of it because
Yeah.
at the time it was one, and I'm like,
Brandon said it's up to 3 geese now.
Okay.
for-
well, that's
nor-
better.
nor- nor- yep. Okay.
But at the time, it was one.
Yeah.
Back when I was in college, it was one, and I
I-
was like, "What? Why would I do this?"
Yeah, I like Larry's comment. He said, "I trade fillets for homemade cookies." But is
Larry-
that still his
Larry.
possession limit, though?
Hey,
I mean,
delete that immediately.
is that still? I mean, even though he's trading them,
You don't
that's
like homemade cookies? What do you have against homemade cookies?
I have nothing against homemade cookies.
I think
Yeah.
you do.
Sounds
Just-
like
just,
you do.
Just
well, and then like
Let's
Brandon
move on
said too,
from
he
it.
goes, "That's why he goes to Lake Erie because they have no possession limit out there."
Right.
That's crazy.
and that's why everybody goes out there. You could at 6 a day
Yep.
as long as you're there. You're there
There's
for
a time.
10
I don't know
days.
what the date is, but it changes. It goes from. It starts out at 6, and it goes down to 5
Okay.
or 4.
And
or
those are
something
big,
like that.
big
But it's
fish.
still, I mean, it's a harvest location. But that's the way the DNR manage it because
Right.
they
Right.
have an overabundance.
Yep.
Like Brian said earlier, the bayfish population, if it left unchecked, the whole system would just fold.
Well, and then
anyway.
everything gets stunted, right? If you had too many, and that's my thing with the panfish, and some like you fish Washera County a lot, right?
Yep.
If a Washera County lake, how would you have a guesstimate on an average size lake over there, acres wise?
Couple hundred probably.
Oh, 100
Couple hundred.
500 acres, the lake.
on an average size.
Just guess, just a number.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't even know.
Okay,
if,
well,
I don't
whatever.
even wanna-
So let's
I
just
don't
let's
think
just
that
say it's a
many.
smaller inland lake. If that lake could stops being fished, right? Those bluegills will just not stop spawning. They're not
Right,
gonna be like,
right.
well, nobody. And before you know it, everything in that lake is 3 inches
Yep.
big.
Yep.
I mean, that's why you've got to take some of them out, which is why I think the fear of reducing it too much, all of a sudden nobody's taking any,
Right.
because those lakes don't get fished that hard, not compared to the Bago system, for instance.
Right.
I think that's something that they've got to keep an eye on.
Well,
It's all relation to the size of the lake and the number of anglers.
Yeah, I
that
would say
fish
they
it,
get
so
fished quite heavily.
you look at the fisheries. I mean, you put 200 guys on a 200-acre lake and say everything you bring in, We're
Right.
gonna put it on the
No,
board.
but I'm
That's
saying
good- that's good
compared
for the
to
lake.
some of these more popular, bigger lakes. Like I fished some of the Washera County lakes myself,
Mhm.
and you'll go there and there's 3 boats on the whole lake, right? Well,
Oh yeah.
you go on a stretch from Fremont to the mouth
Yeah.
of the
you'll see,
river,
yep.
the mouth of the lake, Pike, and there's 300 boats,
Right.
500 boats. Good morning, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg Karch joined in.
And yeah. Oh, hey, Greg. Sweet. I kind of agree with most of what everybody's saying. You know, like Larry said, 3 to 5 gills is plenty per person. Russell just said 15 panfish, crappie, bluegills, so on would be. I think I'm all right with it. But
Yeah,
that's
I'm
just
too.
again because I don't like to clean a lot of fish. Maybe I don't catch them. Maybe I do. Whatever. According to Justin.
I wasn't even gonna say.
But either way,
Come on.
I think it's okay. But I also now that's a great point that you brought up is, what point is it worth your time to go do it? Then?
Right.
So
I don't know. I don't know that answer because to me, 15's plenty.
yeah.
If I go with my son and we catch a couple bluegills, I'm kind of in that 6 to 10 range. If we get 6, I'll keep them. If I don't have enough to clean, like if I don't have at least 10, because I got five people in my family. If I don't have at least 10 or 12, I throw them all back.
So here's a question that I've always wondered for years is once you have, let's say, 5 walleyes per person in a box, technically you're supposed to quit fishing, right? Or can you still catch?
No,
just can't
you're
keep?
done. Well, I don't know how that.
I mean, you
works.
could switch to a different species.
But let's say I continue walleye fishing. Is that illegal then? Let's say I have, you and I are pan fishing and we have
But see,
50 bluegills.
see, that's an argument. I actually got in an argument like that with the DNR one day in De Pere. Because I was trolling in the spring for walleyes, and then they saw me catch this 45-inch muskie. Well, I was trolling big baits. So they're like, well, you're musky fishing. You can't musky fish. Season's closed. I'm like, I'm not musky fishing.
Yeah.
Just because I troll bigger baits for walleyes than the average guy here
Right.
doesn't make me a musky guy,
Right.
right? So how do you ever determine what you're fishing for?
Right.
I mean, right? I mean, just because
I
if I identify if I identify as a smallmouth guy, am I not right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
what are you fishing
Just
for?
like
What do you
everything nowadays.
identify as,
Yeah,
Brian?
right now
Just
I'm
like everything, you
identifying
gotta
as
identify
a
it.
right now I'm identifying as a pan fisherman. Well,
Pan
then
fisherman.
I'm done. Well, now I'm identifying as a walleye guy.
Right.
What am I doing?
Right, but-
I'm fish neutral.
Jesus.
Yeah. Never
was
box
fun.
10 keeping fish.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, so that's my question. Is technically are you supposed to be done at that point?
I think it just all relates to you can't possess another fish. So legally, I think.
But now
you're fine.
soon
pan
as you get
fishing
that
they
fish
swallow a lot. So what do you do with number 11 if it swallows it if you keep fishing?
You let it go.
Well, right, but kind.
Oh,
you
so
know.
here Nick said
Feed the eagles.
it's possibly illegal because you could get accused of sorting.
Hmm.
So
If you're not sorting, you could get accused of sorting,
right.
but the accusation part requires evidence, and without any, guess what happens? Nothing.
What do you say now? Everybody's guilty nowadays.
Well,
It's
nowadays
a-
you're guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
The whole
Right.
thing switched. It used to be, guilty until proven innocent. This is not what it is anymore.
right.
Court of public opinion, you're guilty until proven innocent.
It is a fantastic place.
Right?
So,
In which
Right?
we
Am I
live.
wrong?
No,
Seriously,
you're 100%
whatever
correct.
whatever the Facebook comments say is what's gospel.
true.
Okay, it has
Right,
nothing to do
right.
with the justice
Well,
system anymore.
it's no longer what's untrue on the internet. It's what's true on Facebook.
Literally.
So yeah,
So what do you got next, Justin?
Well, I'm looking at our board. We're covering through these pretty quick, but it's
Oh,
also
yeah.
we've also been on here for over an
Well,
hour.
it's been
already.
but let's
It's
just
great.
keep going.
I want you two to get into that next topic. So if you look under
Which one is that? Is that the big fish
over-harvesting,
one?
If you look under over harvesting, and you guys
Oh.
were mentioning this one, subtly just talking about it.
under overharvesting. You mean what?
You can't read. You have to
Did I
skim
say-
what Matt writes.
I
and
said
just take
under.
it contextually.
Did I say over? No, I said it's under over
Can't you
harvesting.
just start the topic?
No, so
Here
what
you go.
Well,
I'm
we've
helping.
covered over harvesting,
No, here's
right?
right into the panfish thing. We were talking
Yeah,
about lakes
this-
being stunted.
Yep,
We got into this musky thing.
it's a good segue. Yeah,
We got into the musky thing about why is it? I don't know what the topic is, but why is it socially unacceptable to keep musky?
Yep, and if you look at
Right? That's where you wanted me to
That's
go.
where
with
I
it.
wanna go
I
with it.
said it. All right. Why is it socially unacceptable?
Yeah.
Well, so I think like what happened, I think was last year in Minnesota, where the local guy said, enough of this shit. We want you to stop stocking muskies in lakes that aren't being stocked with any other fish.
Right.
You keep putting in top apex predators. They're eating everything. Oh, they only eat so many. Well, guess what? They're probably eating more than you think.
Right.
So Minnesota dropped the regulations on a lot of the small lakes. Some of them I think they dropped to like 0, like just pull it out, folks, and start eating, which you probably don't want to eat some of those big fish anyway. But yeah, so they dropped the size requirements from 54, which I believe is what we currently have on our bay, down to 40. Well, right? People
just lost their
Uproar.
They
shit.
lost it, like fighting, killing people. It got bad. But it's the same process, thought process like taking out the panfish. They're stunted. You have to, if you stop fishing a lake, the panfish may stunt. If you don't have a predator to keep the in check, which is what we are.
Yep.
You know, we're fish predators. We're a little bit above the musky yet. So I don't know. I as much as I am a catch and release, I do fish muskies. I do release. I've never eaten a muskie. My wife
And you've
would
eaten
kill
pretty
me.
much every fish.
And I've
on
eaten
it.
everything.
See, as a trophy, I like catching big fish.
Yep.
I totally buy into the let the big fish go and
Right.
get bigger mentality.
Yep.
Yep.
But it just leads you to if you don't ever harvest the top of the food chain, nothing does.
Right.
Like we compared a muskie to a wolf, right? So in that little topic there, everybody wants the wolves to go away because it hurts the deer numbers,
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
right? But on
Not
the flip
everybody,
well,
but
not
it's
everybody.
a huge number of hunters.
Yes.
A lot of the people listening to this show are probably in the same faction
Yes.
of wolves aren't good for deer numbers.
Yep.
Right.
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 Like that's just
Well, it's
you can make that argument. Whatever. I'm not going to get into the wolf thing. We'll have a whole show on wolves. We'll get some industry guys that really know their stuff about wolves in here. But what I'm saying is that in the underwater, in fresh lakes underwater, that's what a muskie is.
Yep.
A
They
muskie,
have-
it is. It's
They
literally
have
the
no.
wolf
They
of-
have no predator
which
other
one
than people.
Is it northern or musky are called the wolf of the water? I thought.
Muskies.
Is it?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
But that's exactly it, though. I
A
mean,
muskie is I don't know if you ever caught a real big one, but they look at you. Like
Yep.
you'll have right.
man,
Most fish don't look at you.
in my honey hole, I had a pretty decent 30+ inch muskie just eyeball me 3 times. It followed me up to shore and just sit there and stare at me, just dead. We
Like
lock
while
eye
you're
contact.
fishing, or you're just walking on the
No,
shore?
while I was fishing,
That's
he
navigator
followed me
reference.
up. He
The
follows
only-
me up, and I made eye contact with him 3 times.
The
and he
only
would not
fish
hit.
I've ever caught.
What were you tripping on?
No, I'm not a big ocean fisherman, so maybe ocean fish do this. The only freshwater fish I've ever caught that have followed me, salmon and trout and muskies. They will follow you with their eyes. I
Yep.
went to net salmon and trout and muskies, and they will look at you. Like they're not. Most fish don't do.
Nah.
Dude, write it down. I swear to God, they look at you.
Right in the eye. And you don't want to know what they're thinking.
Would
Is
you,
it like a
what-
cat?
You've
Like-
caught a lot of. What do you? Have you seen it?
I guess I've never really thought about looking at it, but they do seem more I don't know if
Well,
it's
see,
the
I
word.
spent a lot of time as the net guy, right?
Yep.
Like I fished with Larry a lot. I was always the net guy. I've spent a lot of time behind the boat with
Yep.
the net in my hands. And those fish will watch you. Those bigger ones, muskies, salmon, and trout will look at you. And I've always, because that net, the head, you're always dipping in net head first, right? They will actually watch you.
Well-
I've had muskie in the boat where you're holding it for a picture or whatever, and that fish looks at you. They don't. Walleyes don't do that. Bass don't do that.
No.
Panfish don't do that.
I think people don't credit fish enough, as the guy who likes the zoology side of fishing. People don't give fish the credit they deserve as to how intelligent they are and how complex they are as
but I don't think they're all that.
No, not all of them. But I mean, if you think about a muskie. I mean, a muskie's seeing you in full color. It's seeing you just in this almost the same quality that you're seeing us right now. They can see on the infrared spectrum a little bit too, which is why certain colors or whatever help. Whatever.
Yep.
But they're intelligent animals. You know what I mean? Like they're not intelligent. They can't do math. Maybe they can.
They
who
think they're
knows?
looking at an alien
But,
though, because
yeah,
they've seen
right.
like what 2 people in their life.
Right.
Maybe.
And they're
Maybe.
looking like, what is this? They're interested. They're not dumb. Some fish are really dumb. But those predators, I mean, those are developed
But
brains.
like that
I mean,
43-inch northern
they're
I
smart.
caught, that fish didn't he didn't care.
Right.
Muskie, if I would cut a 43-inch muskie, that thing would stare you down. It's fact.
Yep.
I think
I'm serious.
They're
They do.
smart. They know.
Pike
So
has
I
feelings.
I
like
can't. I'm not crazy. I swear to God.
no,
I like Larry's comment though. He goes, is it the same with bass? Why not eat them too?
I agree.
all
I just don't
species.
think. I think from a largemouth standpoint, I don't think they taste good
Right.
because of what they eat.
Yep.
That's why walleyes
Right.
taste so good, right?
Yep.
Well, what do they eat that's different than walleye?
It's what they eat and where they live, so it's
Right.
a combination of both.
Shallow water.
Shallow, muddy water for the
Yep.
largemouth.
Warm bays. That's why.
Eating frogs.
That's why a lot of people say fish are better in colder water.
Yep. Well,
you
white
know.
bass. Everybody says
Yeah,
that in
yeah,
the Bago
yeah.
system. White bass
Yep.
tastes better
Well,
through the ice than they do in the summer.
You can see it really easy when you think about like bullhead and catfish. Though a spring bullhead or spring catfish tastes better than something in summer. you
Yep,
know, and same
absolutely.
with fall.
Well, yeah,
you know?
yep. And
Which that applies to most fish, but I think that they're one of the fish around here that's the most prominent in taste changes.
but you'll do the same thing. You'll look at a guy with a 4-pound, smallmouth, and he's got it in his bucket. He's gonna go home and clean it. You're like, why? Right? Would everybody does
I've heard.
it.
I don't eat small. I've heard it pretty.
It's
good.
a great
Yeah.
filler
A lot of
when you,
people
when
say
you
they're
reach your limit of
phenomenal
walleye.
fish.
It's a great filler.
I've eaten smallmouth
So
before. and-
honestly, most species, if cleaned and prepared right, are fine table fare.
well, sheephead would be the biggest argument
of the
for
right
that,
size. Where you need to be cautious is, again, eating the fish too large. Winnebago system's not bad as far as like the PCB and mercury are concerned, but there are a lot of other lakes that have potential risks. So all this stuff's on the DNR's website. I don't think it's looked at enough by people, and it's not like you're saying, hey, I got the opportunity to take this large fish. I'm going to eat it. I love it. It's maybe okay for me. I'm an older dude, right? Everything's going downhill anyway, but right, to take that fish and not realize that the mercury and PCB is too high and then feed it to friends, children, right? Young kids.
You should really watch what he gives you for food.
Like
Fish.
they're
I never take fish from this guy.
Oh,
I wouldn't
yeah.
either because he's trying to kill you
Yeah.
for sure.
everything I give
when he
you
brings
is
it in at to
26 to 27-inch Fox River walleye.
Leave me alone with that. That happened to me. I ate that fish and it wasn't the greatest.
Yep.
My first ever.
Yeah, but for you it was more of a
Yeah, that was that rite of
statement
passage.
kinda-
though.
yeah,
like
for
I
sure.
had to do
Yeah.
it to him.
But those young small fish are fine. You know,
Right.
it's really, and that's
See,
where the slot
well,
comes in. It's
Nicholas brings up the
Yeah.
sheephead thing. He beat me to it. I
Yep.
was gonna say that the sheephead's a drum.
Right.
Down south,
they love them.
down south, that's what they fish for.
Yeah.
It's a stigma around here. It's funny because we're huge bass guys around here, right? The Bay Green Bay, top bass fishing in the country, whatever. And Larry could attest to this. The Lake Oahe in South Dakota is full of smallies, monster smallies, and out there they're like a nuisance fish. It's fact.
It's all region based,
Because Larry and I were
really
out there,
is.
we were fishing a term, we were catching 5-pound smallies left and right. And the locals, it was a nuisance fish to them. They hated. They treated the smallies out there like we think
Because
about
they
sheephead.
wanted the smallmouth or the large walleye.
Walleye.
In the
Well, but
perch,
they think of them like we think about sheephead
Right.
in South Dakota. Not a planet away, South Dakota.
Yeah, it's not far at all. Yeah, it's sheephead are actually out of Winnebago. There's nothing wrong with them.
No.
Are they
It's
as good
just
as
a-
a
Well, that's
walleye?
what Jeff just said.
No.
They're great. It's mind over matter at that point, right?
Well, he says there's
Right.
better tasting fish than sheephead.
Okay.
Absolutely, I would not disagree
Yeah.
at all.
Right. Have you tasted Alaskan whitefish? I mean, come on.
Well,
But
Yeah, no,
whitefish are whitefish. They all pretty
Yeah.
much taste the same.
Right.
I mean, a
It was a
fish
joke.
that is white.
bang
not
for
a
your
white
buck.
fish.
Alaskan cod's got my vote.
Well, let's say this
and,
happens.
and
now.
Greg's lawyers. Nice job, Greg. Those look delicious.
Well, let's say this happens. Let's say the the Asian carp would move, further than where it is right now, and it gets into the bigger.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But I saw there was a talk about it last night on the news. I didn't watch it very closely, but let's say that happens. What are you going to do to control that?
I don't think you
I
can.
think you
Once they're
can't.
there, it's over.
I think that created a whole industry of food fish. I guess as table fare, they're good, but what they do to systems,
well, they just
destroy 'em.
annihilate 'em,
Destroy
yeah.
'em.
they basically kill
But then
everything.
again, like you could kind of look at the sheephead in the same port. As far as
Now,
last year they got killed off, from what I've heard. There was
The
a lot of
sheephead?
yeah,
A fraction of a
VHS though,
fraction
wasn't
of a
it?
fraction, yeah,
but there was a lot of guys saying they're not catching nearly as many.
maybe.
But see, the problem with the sheephead is they're so overpopulated in the Bago system that nobody keeps them ever. So
Right.
that goes back to these possession limits.
Yeah, keep some sheephead.
Yeah, nobody's ever going to do it, though. They should bring back the trawler on Winnebago is what they should do.
Yep.
There was a trawler a long time ago.
There was. They
And
used to feed 'em.
everybody was
I
having
thought
a heart. Everybody had a heart attack about it because there might be a couple hundred walleyes that die, and that's
Yep.
why they can't. That's why they canned it. But there was a trolley or a trawler on Winnebago.
I
Yeah,
thought they
but the-
were doing that. I thought I saw some pictures.
Maybe
last
they did
year.
bring it back. I
They
don't
do
know.
the. I don't think they do the harvest trawl. I know they do the
census one?
The census where they try to.
But that they used to do that to eradicate sheephead.
Yep, and anybody that's ever fed anybody sheephead without their knowledge,
They don't know the
until you
difference.
tell them the difference. I mean, we're
all in
frying
your
in
head.
oil, we're dipping in a big old glob of tartar, and we're pretending like we can,
It's all in your head.
to a point,
It
taste
really
what
is.
that fish
Right.
is.
At the end of the day, fish are fish. They're animals, and as a hunter or a fisherman, you're going to harvest animals. You could eat squirrels. If you could eat squirrels, you could eat chipmunks, you could eat rabbits, you could do all that. In the water system, there are fish you don't want to eat, but at the end of the day, fish are fish, and fish taste good. That's it.
Yeah,
Boom.
Brandon says they're
Drops
still
mic.
doing the trawling on Winnebago.
They're still
I didn't know they
harvesting?
were still doing it though.
Okay. And I'm hoping, and I think they donate a lot of that to like food pantries.
Well, that's
and
what they
stuff,
should do with
which is
it. Why not?
fantastic.
Right.
Why let them be a nuisance? Why not feed people with the food that's there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a renewable resource. Why not do it? It's
Literally.
stupid.
Yeah, I'm
Stupid
just-
not to.
What do
I
you-
mean,
what
when
do
you think
got
about
there?
it, though, and you think about just going really deep into this on one of my classic tangents is, think about third world countries. All those people that can't afford to feed themselves
Oh yeah.
are being fed fish by the government or locals, and they're being fed fish in a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's literally every
Oh.
third world country is based almost on a fish-based diet because of how renewable that source of protein is. And if we did that around here, think about all the homeless shelters and all the other stuff going on right now in America and just in our area alone. All those people without food could have a fully renewable source of
Oh.
food all the time.
So that brings
just
us
from
to
that.
the whole why not let people sell fish?
Yeah, no,
Why
that's
why can you do it down south but we can't do it up here?
So
That is
if
Like
commercial-
southern
fishing.
U.S. or southern?
Southern U.S. If I'm a guide or a captain in Florida,
Yep.
I can go out and catch a whole bunch of tuna personally. I mean, you gotta have a commercial license, but it's a fee, right? I can take those fish to the fish market, and you'll pay me to buy those fish, then you turn around and sell them. Why can't we do that with freshwater fish? I don't understand that.
Do you think it has something to do with the fact that would that count against your limit then, where if you sell your five limit of walleye, you
Yep.
sell that now, you're gonna go back the next get 5 and just do that every day?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Could that then become the issue that yes, you have these limits in place, but it's off of your
But
possession?
then treat it like they do with the crab and stuff. Just have a quota, and once the quota is met, the season's over.
yeah,
why not?
that's actually true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the fisheries can handle it, but certain fisheries like Erie could for a while.
Yep.
But then
Annually.
I
if,
guess
if
I
we hit
struggle-
that number too fast, then do you think the actual fishing season itself could close down?
It's
What's the
So maybe
difference?
that would be
No,
it.
but what's the difference? If I go every day, if I want to catch 5 fish, eat 5 fish, catch 5 fish, eat 5 fish, I could do that 365 days a year.
But I feel like more people would be more apt to do it if they're getting paid for it.
and they
You know what I
would,
mean?
and
Maybe.
that's why you have guides.
Sure.
So I don't see the distinction in me not being able to sell my fish. Not that I want to, but the option wouldn't be horrible. I don't think it'd be that great from the system, regardless. Or a
Wow,
guide.
did you cover all the PC bases there?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Jeez.
or a fishing guide putting somebody on fish. So without that guide, that fisherman would not
Agreed.
have the opportunity. Just he wouldn't. So you're selling the resource essentially. Are you selling the experience? Yes. But I
Right.
think the resource is as important to the guy taking. Now that species dependent on the guide trip,
Right.
right? A guy Musky trips guys obviously aren't out there thinking I'm going to go home with a bunch of fish.
They're
But
looking
the
for
average guy
amount,
that takes a guide out,
but they're
not
looking
only-
for amount.
they're looking for a
Now,
mount.
hopefully they get a replica or whatever, but they don't have. I mean,
This guy's going to put me on fish.
You
I know I'm
catch-
going to take these fish home. The guy's going to take 250 to 300, 400 bucks depending on what he gets for. And he should. It's a lot of work. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's hard for me to see the distinction between a guide essentially selling those fish to a consumer or me selling the fish to the consumer.
Right,
If
what's
he's
the
not
difference?
after the experience, what's the difference?
Right.
Right.
Jeff says that's why there are commercial fishermen. I agree, but they don't allow commercial fishing up here.
No.
Right.
I can't
Right.
be a commercial fisherman on Lake Michigan. I can't bring in salmon and sell it for $10
So-
a pound.
No,
So
but
here's
there's
my question then
whitefish
is-
commercial fishermen and
Well,
there's
there
some
is,
perch
but I'm saying,
quotas,
but-
etc.
Like you just said, though, it would be an additional fee. Say you wanted
Right.
to do it. Well, if you want to buy the additional fee to be a
So
commercial
here-
fisherman,
Here's the
purchase it
thing,
and sell your fish.
Lake Erie is a great example of this. So if you fish Lake Erie, there's the boundary goes right through the middle of Lake Erie.
Yep.
Right? Southern's the U.S., north of that boundary is Canada.
Yep.
You'll be fishing around that border is a real popular area to fish, right? You'll be trolling that area, and the Canadian trawlers will come down, same lake, they will come down to the border, they will turn around, drop the nets right on the border, and go back north. So they're trolling, they're commercial netting the same fish I'm catching.
Right.
So why can't we do that?
Right.
I mean, it's a money thing for sure. It has to be because there's once they open that up, then nobody has control over anything. But they could do it. There's no reason we couldn't do it.
Right.
If it was monitored, I mean, all the
Right.
fish would go through a system, be checked. I mean, they would know the numbers exactly.
Well, it'd just be like tuna fishing on the ocean, where
That's
they
what I'm
bring 'em in
saying.
and check them, and yeah. I think that's a big can of worms, though.
That is a
There's
huge
just
can of
so
worms
much that goes
and I'm
into
not
it.
saying I want
wanna-
to sell my fish. I'm just saying I don't always understand the distinction between.
Right. A guy, you're saying a
You know,
guy
he might
doing
take
it?
2 or 3 trips. That guide most of those guides are dialed. Like they.
oh
they-
yeah, they know.
It takes them a lot of time to put those fish. So it's not a guarantee, but and as a fisherman, we know there's no guarantees. But as a fisherman, his skill level is as close to a guarantee as you will get. So those fish are most likely doomed.
Yep. Ryan says the tribes can commercially fish in Michigan. He said it's a big deal.
Yeah, our
we're
tribes
not-
can hunt at night with rifles and spotlights, can't they still?
Yeah, let's not get into. I don't know if we want to get into the tribal thing.
No.
No, it's not. It's whatever.
I'm fine. Here's my stance on that. I am totally fine with the heritage part of it. That's the right. I'm totally cool with that. Right, but you should be using the same tactics you used 100 years ago.
I agree.
I was gonna say I don't think that
That's
100 years ago they had spotlights. and
High-powered
agree.
rifles.
High
You
powered
wanna-
rifles.
You want to go out there with a candle and a wood spear you carved, and you want to do it the way your heritage. I'm totally cool with that. Get it
Yep.
done, dude. That's
Well,
awesome.
It's
Yep.
tradition, so let's
It's
be
tradition.
traditional.
I agree 100%. 100%. That's 100% my stance on that. Right?
Yep.
You're out there with million candle power spotlights and all this other fancy
Well,
stuff.
it-
That isn't heritage. That's just killing stuff.
Well, it comes down to the lake that I fish so much up north is they can spear walleye now at night, or they go out there and spear walleye, and they can take an unlimited amount too. Where we have a 3 fish limit, but you're going out there and just poking them.
Well, that's the whole economy up north. I do have sympathy for those individuals that are trying to run businesses and whatnot, because the desire to go up north is not what it used to be.
Right.
Deer herds down, fish populations are. I mean, you see people are sparing whatever. You know, it's not. It's a little unfair at times for folks.
You're talking the business end of it?
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Yep.
I
I mean, my
agree.
wife, they used to go up every year. Her and her dad used to go up for a week. You know, deer population was awesome.
Well, that was the biggest argument when they were getting rid of the back tags. You know what I mean? They're gonna kill a lot of that going to the bars and
Oh,
checking your
right,
deer in
right.
and all that kind of stuff too. You know.
But what people forget about, though, I mean, again, like, this is a whole nother topic, but you can still go to that bar if they have a computer there. You know, you can still register your deer at that local
But
establishment.
you can still do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, or you can just do it on your phone. But I understand it's not mandatory
Right.
to do it.
Well, but it just proves if guys still wanted to do that and have that experience, they could.
They most
I always
definitely
thought that was cool. You know, you pull up to a check-in station, you get
Yeah.
to see. As a hunter, you like to see other people's success, and it's just neat.
Yeah.
But it's gone.
It's a tradition. It was a tradition.
Is gone.
I remember hunting season driving through, Hortonville, you're driving through anywhere, and I mean, every bar, every corner was just beds down or tailgates down, racks hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone loves racks hanging out, so
Maybe it's because people started peeling back straps off and then running away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Maybe that shut it
commercially
down.
selling their venison.
Yeah.
I did hear about that.
That's a great thing, though. You got to hunt for the hungry. Why don't they do that with fish? If they want to control some of these populations with sheephead, why don't they have a fish for the hungry where you could
It's a great idea.
donate your sheephead?
That should have been a thing a long time ago.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Why not?
Yep.
I would be more motivated as a fisherman for more species if that was a thing.
Well, I would
because-
absolutely do that with
because
sheephead.
I'd be like,
yeah, especially
For
your
your rough fish.
species.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, because there's a show out there, or at least there was, where that's what they did. They gill netted or they trapped like rough fish, then they sold them to whatever they sold them for. But yeah, why? That's a great point. Why not? There you go, Ryan.
It would be awesome.
Started
another petition. There
Well,
we go.
the issue with that is a logistical issue.
Yeah.
Fish spoil way easier
Yeah.
than a deer does in November.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just due to temperature.
And I
You know.
think the Battle on Bago, I think they do donate at the check-in stations too. If you don't want to keep your fish and you harvest it during the tournament, you can donate. They'll clean it and then they spread it out to whoever families in need or. So they do a little bit. There's some of that going on.
Do they do that with sturgeon as well?
I don't even know if the poor people want to eat that. I shouldn't say that. That was
rude.
That was rude.
Yeah, but I
maybe
mean-
I do.
But then again, it goes back to, like, at that point, you're just a killer, right? If you spear that sturgeon and you just want to give it away, like, you're just killing it to kill it, right?
But from a conservation standpoint,
You're
the
controlling the
system can't-
population.
even if you don't, the system can't handle no harvesting.
And I don't even know if it happens. I'm just saying, you said Battle and Bagel, they potentially do that. Well, does that happen with sturgeon spearing?
I don't know.
Or does everybody that spears a sturgeon, they probably do it for the reason of, like, I want this fish for either the eggs or the meat because it's delicious.
Yep, I've heard that.
And, that's why they do it. Now,
I
it's like bow fishing. Most guys don't bow fish carp to eat the carp.
no, they don't.
They end up in a manure pile or they
Well,
end
the
up
food plots.
food plots. I mean, and that's. But again, it comes back to, okay, why do you bow fish if you ain't eat them? It's because I'm controlling the population. That's what it really.
Well, and I
boils
wish
down
more
to.
guys were bow fishing because if you bass fish, the carp are ridiculously out of control.
Yep.
Yeah, you could open that bow fishing through the ice. People would be pretty excited.
Oh man,
about.
I would do it 1,000%. I would do it
Can you
right
not?
now.
You can't
If,
bow
so,
fish through the
if
ice?
somebody watching this right now, though, in bow fishing as a whole, if somebody
Why
watching
not?
this right now has a
I don't
place for
know.
us to
I
go
would
with
do it.
fish, we will definitely bow
Why
fish.
why couldn't you? Why would they stop you from cutting a hole in the ice and shooting it?
That's
what-
a great question.
They do it. They do it for northern, don't they? In like Michigan and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Michigan, Minnesota both have a northern
Yeah,
pike
and I
spearing
think
season.
Now
like-
is it spearing or can you shoot them with it?
I think I don't know. I know in one of the Dakotas you can spear and fish because I
Okay.
saw a guy just set a state record by bow fishing in the wintertime for northern pike. Now I don't know if I'd shoot a northern or not, but I would definitely bow
Where
fish.
are the carp in the winter?
I have no idea. They're just floating around on the top.
Yeah, I
like
don't-
the
What-
guys
have
spearing
you
them on
ever-
Pike and see them. They see gar and carp. They swim through the holes all the
Do
time.
they really?
Yep.
How
I
much
just wonder
cool-
why.
oh.
What's the difference if you could shoot them in the summer or shoot them in the winter? Who cares? It'd be
Right.
so much easier. I think part of it is they're maybe afraid of the dead carp laying
Carcasses
all over
on
it.
the ice.
But so what? The
Yeah.
seagulls will eat them all.
Yeah.
They go away.
It's-
Those
I've-
seagulls
I
on
fished the
Poygan are
Wolf
fed
River over by New London, and there's a hole where you're trying to catch walleye and you snag carp or you'll catch carp at the same time. Those carp don't end up back in the water. They sit right on the ice, and then you see bald eagles and crows and all that stuff eating them. And I understand that point, but like, God, I'm just losing tangents all over the place.
Oh,
today.
we're jumping around today. It's
Well,
kind of fun.
I would definitely do it. Though.
Definitely a Friday mindset.
Yeah, I like that. I like Nicholas's deal here. This is the first thing that came to my mind when I started getting into all this fishing stuff was, why in the world is it such a taboo for me when I had the sturgeon on my line over here, why is it such a taboo that if you get that fish, like you need to be so clear, concise to get it back in the water because it's a beautiful ancient fish, and then we're just like, let's just throw spears at him for a whole week. Let's just fork them.
It's a good. I mean,
Like, but do you get where that comes from though? It's
Right.
like, why couldn't we just have a better fishing season for these things? Why
Well,
couldn't we?
and
have
and they
a
do
better-
hook and
You can
line
hook and
fish
line
them
'em.
all over
Right.
the place.
Yep.
Yeah, it's monsters.
No, I thought of my point was, if we're going to try to control let's say the rough fish population, it's better to do it this time of year because they're more sluggish. You can,
Well, plus they're easier to deal with.
yeah,
I could shoot.
Right.
If I could shoot them through the ice, I'd shoot them through the ice.
Yep.
Why? Because I want to use them for fertilizer in my food plots.
Yep.
And I can throw them in a bucket and they're frozen. I can take these. Now they're not slimy. They're not
Yep.
rotting.
Yep.
They're in a big gallon thing, frozen.
frozen.
I can transport them to my food plots, throw them out there. I get the same benefit out of
I've
it.
So
done that.
real quick, if I go out bow fishing, which I'm setting up my old Hoyt for bow fishing. So if I go out
Your
bow
old
fishing,
Hoyt?
my old
You
one,
now
yeah.
have two Hoyts?
Yeah, well I have an old one from like 2004. Okay, calm down.
Welcome.
Right.
Matt's
so,
got like 12 bows.
yeah.
Actually,
I'm joining his club.
Well,
I barely can shoot a bow,
Matt,
but
right-
I've got multiple.
Megan's comment. You should write that down. We'll get Greg
Greg
on here.
Bannock?
Yeah, I know him. He runs a big bull fishing guide service out of Winnicott.
Okay.
But what I'm asking is, so if I go out and bow fish, are you willing to take the fish? Because I can give you fish.
I don't want them in the summer because I don't want to deal with them.
well,
They're
yeah,
rotten.
you have to
Right.
deal with them quickly.
And that's my
Right.
problem is running the store. We're all busy. I can't just at the drop of a hat drive to Tiger.
Right, but I would do it this time of year for sure.
this time of year because I could
Throw-
just throw them. I could leave them outside for a week and take them up there.
Yep.
Okay.
It'd be awesome.
I'm just trying to make an excuse to go bow fishing. But
Well-
living in the town with no yard and no nothing,
Right.
like,
Well,
what
that
do I do
is-
with them? I want to
that-
go, but I have
That
nowhere to
is-
go with them.
That is the hard part of bow fishing is it's a great sport. It's fun.
What
it
do
has a
most people
purpose.
do with them after? I don't. That's why I don't get into it because I don't want to deal with the mess.
Right.
Well, that is they have like.
Maybe that's that's Greg.
You can't
We'll-
even put them in dumpsters, really. For
We'll
the
get
most
Greg
part.
on here. I'd
Yeah.
love to get his insight.
I think a
on
lot
that.
of guys that are like guiding for carp spearing, they
Right.
have a
Destination
farmer or
spots.
multiple farmer
Okay.
contacts that they love them. They spread them in their fields.
Well, that's
They-
all. Well, that's what I
So-
want to do with them, but I just want to do it.
But
when it's
if you don't have that
convenient.
contact,
Yeah.
I want to be a millennial. I want to do it when it's convenient for me.
Right.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing is, like, I really want to try bow fishing because the spot that I fish would be an absolute, like, just blast to bow fish there. Like, you wouldn't stop shooting that bow. You
might-
wouldn't. You
right.
wouldn't do it. And so what I want to do is I want to get into that. So if anybody watching is around the Appleton area and wants carp or rough fish for food plots, whatever,
There's some guys that
Like-
smoke them too.
like,
Yeah.
Oh,
let,
yeah.
let us know because I want an excuse to go bow fishing. Because
Oh,
right
there's
now
so
I
many
have nothing to do with
They
them.
were originally brought here as a food fish from
Yep.
Europe.
Yep.
That's how they.
Think
no,
of-
it's- The irony is nobody wants.
Well, in
to eat
Europe,
'em.
carp. We talk about
Yeah,
different fish in
huge.
different areas. In Europe, it's a prize
Yeah,
I
fish.
think
prize
the
fish.
biggest problem with carp around here, especially in
It's just these
our
weird
system here,
stigmas we have.
Yeah.
well, think about this though. All of the mercury and all the PCBs and everything, it's heavier than water, so it sinks to the bottom. Carp or bottom feeders, carp eat all that. So the carp that you'd pull out of the Fox River versus a walleye is going to be the more unhealthy fish to eat.
Yep.
We get these crazy
So that's
physics
why-
lessons from this guy.
I know.
So
I
right,
know.
but like that's the truth. So like that's why I will not smoke or eat a carp out of this system. But if I went down south and do a nice clean waterway, whatever, I would definitely eat a buffalo or a carp, no problems. But here, it's,
Winnebago system
yeah.
would treat you fine. I think that's why the sturgeon don't have any health requirements on the Winnebago system. But you look at like the Lower Fox
Right.
and Green Bay, because they're a bottom feeder.
Yep.
They're old as 50 to that 174 pounder they just shot was like 84 years old. I mean that's
Jesus.
crazy.
I'm gonna turn that buffalo into my honey hole. I'm gonna make him one of those giants. Then I'm gonna get him mounted.
You
Just
gotta-
because
You gotta finish. You gotta finish that sentence from now on, like buffalo carp.
buffalo carp.
You just say
yep.
buffalo.
Yeah, you
all
were
the
talking
time.
about
Dragon.
fish.
I know.
We're talking fish. I just assume
Alright.
buffalo
I know.
carp,
Well,
big
You
mouth
know what
buffalo.
they say about assuming?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. There, I was in the Fox River. There was a buffalo there, and I
Yeah.
was taking shots at it, and I was really bad at it.
Random city
It's
buffalo.
just
I don't know.
random buffaloes.
They're coming down from the Arctic or something. I don't know.
But you had asked what a lot of people. So one year, a couple buddies of mine, I was just out of high school. We went up to the Petenwell flowage in March, and there was a couple inlets that opened up early, and the carp would just flood in there
Oh,
for
yeah.
the oxygen. Just ridiculous, to the point where you don't want to shoot them anymore because every time you shoot, they're so thick, you'd get 2 or 3 with one shot.
I was gonna say if he really wants to go, we go to Walcott Creek.
Yes,
We go to
yes.
Big Green
Well,
on
yeah.
by the carp fence on that
Yep.
end. I mean, you'd be shooting until you're blue in the face. What are you gonna do with 200 of them?
So what we did is we built
Nothing.
stringers because we had to walk out on the ice to get to the open water, and then we'd build stringers, and we because the ice wasn't quite thick enough to drive a vehicle out there. And over where I live, there's a mink farm.
Oh,
so we
okay.
took him to the mink farm at this time. Now, not to say this guy wants carp all the time, but at this time it worked out. And that was pretty cool because that way I felt good, like they were getting repurposed, they're feeding the mink and all that kind of stuff. But there's not very often. And I used to shoot tournaments and all that stuff. There's not very often where I got sick of shooting carp. But at this point, like they were so close together, I just put my bow down. And I was trying to physically just catch them because there was so many in there. Or the school would be here at the narrow down point. You'd walk away from the school and just try to isolate and shoot one
Big one,
fish.
yeah.
Because otherwise I could literally go like this and just fling an arrow and at least get 2 with every shot.
Man, if deer herds were that thick,
Oh man!
you know how cool I would be.
Oh.
So I think we should have a game.
I think
by
we
the way,
should be able to carp fish
with
in the
bow
winter.
fishing. We're gonna go bow fishing in the spot that I usually go to, right? And we're going to see who can hit the first fish that jumps out of the water, because those things down there, they jump like crazy. I think that'd be a fun time.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Zach, where you're going, you have to read the regulations
Right.
carefully because you have to be so far from a concrete structure.
Right.
We found this out.
Yeah, I remember
Sure.
that. Yep.
We found
Do
this out.
does somebody know how far away that is?
It's
'Cause
in,
that'd be,
it's in
that'd
the
be
spearing, the spearing and the
okay.
netting. I think it's 200 feet.
200 feet.
200 feet. We found this out, which to me is dumb.
What counts as a concrete structure? Is that just like literally any
Well, I
slab of
think
concrete?
it's meant to be a dam.
Yeah,
A
they're
dam.
And
just
it's a
trying
dam or
And that's
a-
the problem with like Waukau
Yep.
or
yeah.
Big
which I
Green.
think is dumb because you're trying to control these
Yeah,
fish.
But it's all the other species that are present at that location because dams are just
Yeah, but
a
you're not shooting
collection.
those.
Well, you shouldn't.
I'm
be.
identifying as a carp shooter right now. I should be able to shoot this carp.
Yeah, but if all of a sudden you identify as a bass shooter,
I
Right,
know, 'cause that's
right.
illegal.
and then the
I
next
wouldn't do
second
that.
you identify back to a carp shooter, that's the
No,
issue.
I would not do that.
Is the flip flopping.
No, nope, that's bad.
Oh, nice. Some guy said that's why the town stinks because
He's actually the one of the police officers in Tigerton.
Oh, nice. Well, Brian doesn't shoot.
I don't. I
He
wish I
doesn't.
could.
You
I
wish he
would
could.
don't.
So Zach's gonna get him a bunch
I
of
have.
carp.
I got the local farmer Damro. He comes out and spreads fertilizer for my food plots for me.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, but I would definitely bowfish this time of year.
Oh, it'd be
I
awesome.
would do that way more than ice fishing.
I wonder if they're just a lot more
I would
spread
actually
out.
do that. I
Yep.
would do that.
That makes me. You think they were just more spread out this
Do
time
you,
of
do
year?
you think it's a? Do you think part of the reason they don't want people to do it through the ice is the size of hole? Because there's regulations on hole size.
Yep.
They make the exception for sturgeon spearing.
But my argument to that is you're in the front of a boat. You know how many times when I've
No, I'm talking about through the ice.
Yeah, 12-inch max is your.
You can only drill a hole
I
so
thought you meant
big.
like safety wise, like somebody
no,
falling
no,
into
no.
the hole.
Oh.
Well, it's after you cut that hole, right?
Right.
So
Right.
they make that exception for ice, right?
Yep.
And then you got to have it marked after the fact. You got to put markers in there
Yep.
or whatever,
Yep.
right? So I think from a bull fishing through the ice standpoint, you're not gonna be able to shoot through a 12-inch hole.
So maybe they just open it up, during the sturgeon spearing season.
Yeah,
then.
well, yeah, but then guys are gonna be sticking freaking sturgeon.
can you
with
imagine how
arrows.
many
Can you
holes?
imagine that?
Maybe it's a safety thing. It very well could.
I'm just making the argument because
my argument to that is if they're going to break a rule, they're going to break a rule. What does it matter if it's during the sturgeon spearing? They shoot.
Agreed.
Shoot a sturgeon.
I don't
agree.
think any fish has ever been speared other than a sturgeon.
this
through a
Nicholas
hole.
guy, he's a big fan of the DNR. What was that?
He should be. I'm a fan of him too. I
He's
wish
a-
there was more of them.
He's just saying the DNR won't let us do it.
Oh,
He's facetious.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big word for you, man. I'm proud of
He's,
you.
he's
I
been
wanted-
hanging out with me too much.
I wanted to. I
Wow.
wanted to facetious fish. There's back
Wow,
on the
yeah.
topic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I think we've covered
I'm
a lot
exhausted.
of stuff.
Do we have anything you wanted to talk about?
Did
that
we miss
missed?
anything?
we've kind of hit it all. I think we've had a pretty good conversation about,
Yeah, I agree.
about the
Did we
topic.
spear it all, Justin? Did
We speared it all. Jess, you got a fish yet? I want to go fishing this weekend
Yeah.
for other things. If you could get one, that'd be fantastic.
Hint, hint.
All right, sounds good.
So Monday is Russell.
Yep.
Russell is going to be getting ready to head to Madison.
Yep. We talk about a lot of the new Great Lakes we've been talking about, but it's more and more
Yep.
showing up online now. And
And I think Monday is, we just talked about this a little bit before the show, is I think we should try to get TJ on for Monday as well.
okay.
So
Well, I talked to Russell this morning about trying to get the Michigan Stinger guy on via Skype too, for Monday.
well, the only reason I want to do TJ relatively soon is because this seems like was another good tournament.
Well, it's not over yet. It's
But
not
it'll be over
till
with by
Sunday.
Sunday,
Yep,
though,
yep,
right?
right.
So if we maybe Wednesday,
Yeah, we'll see. See what he's
because
available.
Wednesday is Battle and Bago,
Yeah,
guys.
that's that's right. We got Wednesday. We got
Glenn.
Glenn from Battle.
Is that
and
locked
Bagels
down
gonna
for
be
sure?
there. Yep.
Cool.
I do
So he'll-
have one
he's
more
gonna be in
quick one if-
studio.
If, you guys want to add one more quick
Yeah, sure.
quick topic. So this goes back to the transport, the aquatic invasives.
Yeah.
That it's a huge push, right? You go to a boat launch, you got to clean all the weeds and all the crap off your boat. Boat launch pricing has gone.
Through the roof.
It's anywhere from $5 to, if you're on the Great Lakes, $10 to $12 a boat launch.
It's crazy.
So what happens is you pull up to these boat launches, you pay your $10, and the launches are full of weeds.
Yep.
So it's in my opinion that if I'm paying for that launch should be clean. By the
Same people you're paying to
you're paying.
launch.
Yep. You're keeping the dock in good shape, and now I back my boat and I pull it out with 40 pounds of weeds, and I got to spend the next 30 minutes picking off every single weed, or I'm going to get a ticket.
Do you know the percentage of, or what they think the percentage of the actual invasives are transferred via boats versus naturally wildlife just doing it?
I don't.
Do you have any idea?
I have zero
yeah.
idea.
Because there's no way to stop the birds from transferring stuff,
No.
right,
no.
or whatever. So I mean, how much of that's through the boats, or is that just one of these DNR
I know.
quick
it's
fixes that really isn't an issue? I don't even know.
Have you guys either one of you fish Minnesota?
Mm-hmm.
Are there landings free in Minnesota?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I thought I saw an episode with Larry Smith.
Up north, everything's free.
Is it really?
Yep. A lot of places they're free. It seems to be the more trailers can fit in their parking lot, the more they charge. So, you know these boat launches they're taking in some serious coin. Look at Asylum Bay in any time of the year. Great example, right? There's always at least 20 to 30. It's $5 or $6 a boat. They're making $300, $400, $500 a day. Why can't once a day somebody come down, clean the launch of weeds? Then the amount of weeds that are getting transported is cut down significantly.
You're not wrong.
It's just a thorn in my side, and I bet in many people's sides.
Are those landings always in good shape?
The landings themselves are in good shape, but a lot of times they're super weed choked because people are backing in, power loading.
Well, and then
etc.
once I realize they go and they grab the weeds and just throw them on the ground. 'Cause
Yep.
what else are you gonna do with them?
Yep.
Right.
So
Don't know. That's a
They
good.
should put them in a
There should
compost
be-
bucket.
I
right,
would
you'd think
love
that
to
there'd be
know.
a facility at the launch that you'd be able to put all of your garbage.
Minnesota
that's
has wash stations at a lot of the launches.
Well, don't they have those on a lot of the salmon areas too? Like boat.
Well, fish cleaning, but not to wash your
Oh,
boat.
yeah, there's,
Okay.
yeah.
I
I
would-
have seen wash stations.
I would just love to
periodically,
know how much they actually contribute to the boats moving between lakes versus
Other
other
methods?
methods of I just don't know. It might be they might think it's 100%. I don't know, but I'm
Right.
just saying I would like to know.
I would say it's
what
probably
that
a
number
good
is.
chunk, just because so many people. You got to remember every lake and every piece of water is its own habitat. So when you're moving anything from that to another one, not just fish, but literally anything, you're going to cause a disruption.
Yep.
It just happens. So if you get a couple zebra mussels on your boat, you have no idea that they're on there. Somehow they're on your trailer, I should say. And now you go back that into a lake that's never been touched up by them before. You come from here and then you go up north for a day. That could be a problem, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely has that human impact side on that.
Well, I'm sure it's some.
But there should be more help for the people to get rid of the problem. Don't just tell us, hey, don't do this. Well, okay, now what do I do with all of it? Though?
Right. Well, I got issues
You know?
with the DNR and a lot of, cormorants on Winnebago. That's a whole, not on Winnebago, but on the bay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
Like-
been addressed, I believe, but
Is it though?
not enough, possibly. Probably. But I don't know. Cities, municipalities charging fees for the launches.
Take care of them then.
Keep them clean.
So is that their responsibility though?
Well, they're charging you for use of their launch. Why wouldn't they keep it clean?
Right.
It's kind of like the argument where we pay road taxes and our roads are still falling
Well,
apart.
you go to Menominee Park in the summer, people are making comments about the goose poop.
Yeah.
You go to Menominee Park in the summer, and you got to dodge. It's like little
Yeah.
landmines everywhere.
Right.
They're terrible.
All right, parks and rec departments, get on it.
Right? Well,
Executive decision.
I just say
we
no.
want our money's worth.
It's no different, right? If you're paying money, it should get taken care of. That's where that money should be going
Right.
towards, is that
agree.
facility.
Right.
That's what you're paying to use.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a big, it costs $30,000 to pour the slab and but
Oh, I'm sure.
they got an ROI at some point.
Yeah,
it
but-
comes to zero, and then
Menominee Park has looked the same for the 20 years that I've used it.
yep.
Maybe they put new docks in once. Okay, there was like 20 grand.
Yep.
Right, but it hasn't changed. They haven't had to pour new concrete. They haven't done anything with that launch in 20 years.
And it's
Yep.
still $6
Oh,
bucks
yeah.
at launch.
So,
Yeah,
whatever.
that would be a good one. Why don't they donate some of those proceeds back to like the fishing clubs or something like that to help keep the lake, stock it with something, stock it with muskies, right? Because that's what everybody wants.
Every lake, muskies. You get a muskie. You get a muskie. You get a muskie. Check under your seat, Justin, because there's a muskie under there.
It's good. He's switched to musky fish, and he's trying to find them.
I love catching muskies.
We're
They're
gonna
pretty
take
cool
you to the
fish.
muskie spot, man.
I know.
The
I
fi-
won't-
the lake
but I
is
won't
literally
I
muskies.
won't take you to mine.
That's okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's okay. Then you're not invited.
So-
I'm repealing the invite.
So now Megan can guess for Free Hat Friday. She tried to put number 7 on there, and it's new now.
It's got to be on the post.
Yeah,
though.
the post is live
Yeah.
right now, so
Yep.
it should be on our Facebook page.
So
So,
if you want
There
to
you
guess
go.
for the hat, the Bulltech hat over there, you got to make the guess on the post.
so great.
She was just trying to be funny because
I
7 is my
know.
favorite number.
All right, so
Great
we've been
topic.
talking for 2 hours and almost 2 minutes now. 2 hours and 2 minutes. It's been a great show. Recap,
Absolutely.
Master, Matt, recap. What do we all talk about? Can you remember it all?
Well, we just talked a lot about state fisheries, over harvesting, bag limits. We've talked about, predatory fish,
Food chain.
Food chain. We've covered a whole plethora of topics. Like, people just need to go back and watch and share this video because we want the comments to continue after the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did this for a reason. Like, we want people to be interactive, and this is a good way for your voice to be heard as well. And I think that's kind of
Absolutely.
what we somewhat
And
titled
we're
this
gonna do
show
this
as
more, 'cause
My,
this was
my voice
a-
matters. And
Right. It's successful and people want to be heard.
Yep.
And we can offer a great, especially if you have an appropriate opinion, and you're not, rude about it and you're just presenting facts or your side.
And that's where
That's amazing
I
because
want
we
to
need to
thank
hear it.
everybody that commented on there because they kept it clean. Even though
Absolutely.
this was a really good way for somebody to voice their opinion in a rude manner, everybody that commented on here was very tactful about it, and it was good argument.
Well, and I think it's a great thing in today's society to be able to have an open conversation and everybody has an opinion and they're all entitled to that opinion, right? Nobody's right. I don't know all the answers, but
Right.
it's refreshing for me to be able to hear other people's opinions on the topics, have
Yep.
my opinion on the topics, not bashing anybody about it,
Right.
just let it go.
Right.
No, we weren't. No intention on offending anybody. But it's a lot of stuff that we talked about, and I've been on the retail floor for
A
ever.
long time.
Like a lot of this stuff comes from the customers, comes from the people. It's
Yep.
a lot of the
Right.
opinions we shared here are shared by a lot of other people. so.
Well, and we can just go right back to let's all hold hands, kumbaya. But we all are conservationists and sportsmen first and foremost. So us arguing is not doing us any justice, but
Nope.
we're allowed to do it once in a while as long
Right.
as we all come back to the same point and say we're doing this for.
Well, the only reason people argue is that they both sides feel strongly about
They want to
their
be right.
they both feel strongly about their side of the argument. That's why
Right.
people argue to begin with. Is you feel strongly, I feel strongly, so naturally you argue. But I think what society has lost is the ability to find some kind of common ground.
Yep.
And then, okay, so you like this, I like that. Let's find a compromise that works for both of us. And I think that's what society today has lost.
Correct.
That's
Well,
completely
I
gone.
would agree completely.
gone.
Nobody wants to listen to the other side.
Right.
Everyone just listens to talk and doesn't listen to listen. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Listen to reply.
Well, they're worried about your words and not what the meaning of it is, right? Or if you slip up and you say something that you didn't quite intend, it's instantly, well, that's what you meant. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but what's the general context? Nobody wants to believe or listen to context anymore.
Yep.
It's all
Not at
about the
all.
individual words, right?
Yep.
Right.
I was raised on this whole, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's just not like that anymore.
Right.
No.
Words hurt more
Words
than sticks.
hurt.
these
I
days.
saw
Yeah.
a meme on Facebook the other day. It says bones will heal, but words are forever, or some crap. I'm like, come on, people, what is going on? Like, you got to be tougher than that. Like, it just, I don't
I
want
think
my.
the climate change is causing our
Do
skin to
not-
get thinner.
Yeah,
Thinner,
yeah.
thinner
just-
skin.
I don't.
A polar vortex.
Polar
We've
vortex
got
and
sons
thin
very
skin
similar age,
correlates.
right? They're both
Yep.
15. I don't want my kid growing up thinking that that's how it works. It just
Right.
doesn't work like
That's not
that.
the way it works.
Nope.
You got to be mentally tougher than that.
Yeah,
it
and
just
that-
doesn't work.
Yep. That's a whole another one.
All right, we'll save
Whole
it for
can of
that.
beans.
Keep
All
it
right,
going.
guys.
So
Thanks everybody for watching. Matt, did you have something to say, or are we wrapping this up?
No, I
We're
think
done,
we're wrap
man.
it up. I mean,
All right.
go over the TRS live
Oh,
thing
yeah.
last time.
Did you get your outro done yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to blow it.
Yeah, we're gonna get an outro.
That's right. We
done.
didn't film it
An
yet, did
actual
we?
outro. We talked about it, and then a million other things had to
Yeah, I
happen.
know.
So we'll get there, but we're gonna have a better outro. But right now, guys, everybody, thank you so much for watching. It's been a great show. We peaked at almost our highest ever for a good chunk of time.
Oh,
We were
yeah.
almost at 30 for a while there.
Awesome.
That's awesome
Thank
for
you
us.
so
We're
much.
Yeah,
growing.
thank you.
And the only way that we can grow further than that and larger is if everybody watching
you.
helps by sharing. Share this post. Share all of our posts if you want to. Comment. Be active in the comments because that's only going to help the feed get noticed more. Follow us on Instagram at TRS Outdoors. If you have an Instagram, go over there if you haven't already. Follow us. We got some awesome content moving over there. There's going to be a lot of special promotions going on Instagram only. So if you want to take advantage of some daily deals we've been talking about, that's where they're going to be. Other than that, YouTube, The Real Shot, we're on there, and we upload all of our TRS live videos to YouTube, but also to TRSOutdoors.com.
James.
So
take my money for a Be Safe sticker.
we'll get them made.
What?
Be
James,
safes are taking off.
yeah, James says, "Good show. Take my money for a Be Safe
Oh, I
sticker.
missed it.
We're doing it. We're going to design some cool ones for that. But yeah, anyways,
Be
guys.
safe. Be safe.
All right.
Wrap her
That
up.
sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you guys
you.
all so much. And,
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
do
and
it.
remember, if you're out on the ice, be safe.
Be safe.
Safe.